If everyone could take their seats, please. We're getting ready to start. It's 9 o'clock. Thank you. Okay. And we have a little technological glitch here, but if everyone else could take a seat and get ready to do our hearings. Thank you. We're going to have a brief recess. There's some technology issues, and I'm sure the city technology crew will be on site momentarily. Thank you. All right, well, we're ready to proceed. It is 9:12. It looks like the technology glitch may have been corrected, hope so. So I apologize for the delay, but sometimes we get defeated by technology, and there's not much we can do when we have to wait. So thank you, everyone, for your patience. We are here today for the Tuesday, November 15th, 2022, hearing examiner agenda in council chambers in the city of Cape Coral, calling the hearings to order at this time. I do have some preliminary comments, and then we'll get right into the hearings following that. I'd like to introduce our process for those of you who may not have been here before. In our process, the clerk will read the introduction of the case, and then the clerk will swear in anyone who is testifying as to that case. The city staff then testifies regarding compliance with public notice. If public notice is found to have been properly done, we go forward with the hearing. If it has not been properly accomplished, then other results happen at that time. But in any event, assuming public notice has been given properly, the applicant goes first and is required to present an entire case. The city staff goes second and presents their case. Public comment is next. Please, if you're here for public comment, make your comments comprehensive, because once the public comment is closed, it will not be reopened. The applicant then responds to questions and makes any final comments. The staff does the same. If you have a cell phone with you today, please turn it off or silence it, and take any cell phone conversations outside the room if possible. If you wish to have private conversations, please move away from the speaker's lectern so we do not accidentally record your conversation. Once your conversation is recorded, it becomes public record. If you're here to testify today, please come to the microphone so we can properly record your testimony. All testimony must be under oath, and no testimony will be accepted from your seat. Members of the public, if they are here to testify, are requested to go to the microphone at my left, your right, at the side of the room, next to the doors that you entered the room today. It has the same video and audio capability as the microphone in the center aisle. Anyone who provides testimony is requested to fill out a public participation card so we can properly spell your name. If you wish a copy of the recommendation or order, as the case may be, please provide your email contact information. But please also be aware that if you do provide your email contact information, that becomes public record at that time. Excuse me. I would appreciate if you're here to comment at public comment, to make your comments respectful of each other. I'm here to listen to everybody's comments. I take everybody's comments very seriously. The public, the applicant, the staff, even our assistant city attorney. And I respect you, and I hope everyone in this room respects each other and behaves accordingly. Thank you. With those preliminary comments, Madam Clerk, would you call the first case, please? Thank you.
Yes. Case DEV 22-000003, address 3207 Southeast 19th Place, applicant Emily Wakefield. The applicant is requesting a 10-foot deviation from the Marine Improvement Standards section of the LDC. The LDC section 5.4.3.3.b currently limits marine improvements to a maximum projection of 30 feet. The applicant is requesting an additional 10 feet to project a maximum of 40 feet. The address is 3207 Southeast 19th Place, Cape Coral, Florida 33904, Block 591, lots 1 through 3. Any persons giving testimony today, if you are able, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Good morning, Madam Hearing Examiner. Candace Ford for the record, Associate Planner with Planning City staff. This project was properly noticed. We did post signs on site. We did send letters out to all applicants within 500 feet, or I'm sorry, residents within 500 feet of the site, and we did post in the newspaper at least 10 days before the hearing.
Thank you. I will find the proper notice was given. Thank you very much. May we have the applicant up, please? Thank you. morning.
Good morning. My name is Sam Wakefield, and my wife and I own the property at 3207 Southeast 19th Place. And we live right here. Let me see here if I can get it blown up. So this is right here is a picture of our dock, and we would like to extend it 10 feet. Our neighbor right here to the south, this is his boat right here, and he has a dock, and his boat actually extends out straight, and we would like to do the same with our boat, extend it out straight. Here's another picture of the dock setup. Now the canal is 180 feet from side to side, so it's one of the larger canals in the Cape. Here's a picture of the neighbor to the north of us. So you could see that our dock and boat lift are right in the middle of the canal right now. And this is the deepest spot of the canal and the most convenient, because when we pull out of the boat, we could just pull out and go straight in the middle of the canal. If we were to have the boat over here, it would be close to the neighbor to the north, and when we backed out, we would have to pull towards his dock instead of in the middle of the canal. And so some of the reasons why we would like to do it this way. Well, first of all, both neighbors on the side of us that own on the water both approve, and they have emailed and signed that they approve of the project. We also have another neighbor that lives next to us to the north, and then another neighbor across the street from us that have approved also. It would just, so right now our boat lift and dock goes straight, and we're just asking for 10 feet, and it would just make it very efficient and easy just to extend it, and there would be no bottlenecking. Like when we pull out, we just go straight out just like the neighbor to our south. Do you have any questions for me?
Well, your request is for deviation, and the city has criteria that you have to address in making that request for me to even consider your application. Do you want to address them now, or do you want to, have you had a chance to look at the staff report?
Yeah. So my father-in-law, he's in his 70s, and he also drives our boat, and he likes to go out on the boat, but he doesn't, sometimes he gets nervous in tight situations, and if we can go straight out, it would make it a lot easier for him, just because he's advancing in his age, and it'd just be a ton easier not to feel like he's gonna back into the neighbor's boat when he's trying to back out, because it would actually, the back end of the boat, if we went on an angle, the neighbor's boat would be here, and it's already stuck out like straight, so we would have to back out this way and then go that way instead of just going straight out like he is. So I'm just reading my letter here. Yeah, the effect of the waterway and other navigation is non-existent, considering that it is at the end of the canal with only 2 houses. The deviation would not infringe on neighboring properties or any future marine improvements. This waterway was a special condition that would justify this deviation. The canal is very wide compared to most canals in the Cape and has plenty of room for this improvement without impacting the waterways or the neighbors. Like I said, I've spoken to both neighbors, and they both agree that it would be in the public's best interest to approve this. So-
Did you want to address the criteria? You haven't really addressed the criteria. One way to handle the situation, if you want, well, for example, were there any special conditions related to the property or waterway that would affect the proposed deviation? Actually, having the waterway being broad would be the exact opposite of a special condition that would support your request. So when you testify that the width of the waterway would be a special condition, it's actually not really something that would support that condition. And then there's a condition whether conditions existed or not the result of applicant. How do you want to address that? Because it sounds like the conditions exist because of you're wanting a bigger boat. I mean, that's what it sounds like to me. If you have other testimony on that criteria, I'd be glad to hear it.
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of at a loss for words at the moment, so.
It's okay. Why don't we do this? Let's have staff testify, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
And then I'll give you a little bit of time to think about if you want to say something else.
Okay.
Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, can we have staff up, please?
Good morning, Madam Hearing Examiner. Once again, Candace Ford, Associate Planner with the Planning Division with the city.
Good morning.
So the applicant, as we've established, is Emily Wakefield. The location is 3207 Southeast 19th Place. The applicant is currently requesting a 10-foot deviation from section 5.4.3.3.B of the LDC that requires the end of a canal to have a 30-foot maximum projection. They do wish to extend the 40 feet, which would be allowable if they were not on the end of a canal, pursuant to 5.4.3.A.2.B, which limits them to either 25% or 40 feet, whichever is less of the width of the water body. As we've established, this is the subject parcel in question. As you can see, all of the homes around within 500 feet are within the R1 zoning, and they do have a future land use of single family. Some background regarding the site: it is approximately 16,874 square feet. It currently does have a single family home, and they currently do have a boat slip and a dock. The site is adjacent to the Delmar Canal North and the Swan Canal, and as the applicant has stated, it does currently have a platted width of 180 feet. And then this is the proposed sketch of what the applicant is requesting. They are requesting that additional 10-foot on the end there to extend into the canal. Okay, as for the criteria, the first one is the effect of the proposed deviation would have on the navigability of the waterway. As such, because the dock is proposed to be perpendicular, and since it is perpendicular, it will not cause navigability issues for any of the neighbors on the end of the canal, nor on the opposite sides on either side of the applicant currently. It will not infringe on the rights for either neighbor on either side if they do propose any other deviations as well. It is in the middle of their actual parcel, so it does give kind of the most room, if you will, on either side for the neighbors to be able to pull out and for the applicant to pull out as well. And it would be noted that the subject parcels on either side also have current existing marine deviations. whether there are any special conditions, as you noted, it is 180 feet. While that does not necessarily help the applicant, the fact that it is perpendicular will kind of allow them to have as much space in between as possible, since it is currently perpendicular and in the middle. Whether the conditions exist that are not the result of the applicant, and which are such a literal enforcement of the regulations involved that would result in unnecessary or undue hardship for Part 4. Currently, there are no existing conditions that would result in unnecessary or undue hardship. However, if the applicant did need to essentially tear down the dock to reconfigure, it would cause, not unnecessary, but it would cause lots of money to redo and time and through the permitting process, rather than just an additional 10 foot, which is what they're currently proposing. As for the comprehensive plan, the request is consistent with Table 1, which appears in Policy 1.15 of the future land use element that identifies R1 district as consistent with the single-family future land use category. The City Planning Division staff is requesting approval with certain conditions that are highlighted in the staff report. And as for correspondence, prior to the first scheduled public hearing for this, we did not have any. However, since then, I have received 4 emails in support from their neighbors of this, and then I did receive 3 emails from the same person in opposition for the deviation, and then I did have 2 people reach out just asking for more information. They didn't have an opinion one way or another regarding this deviation. And I will take any questions.
Thank you. Yeah, let's go back to the first criteria.
Sure.
My understanding from reading the Land Development Code is that the city recently, or well, not quite recently, but in the recent past, increased the footage by right to 40 feet, except at the end of canals.
That is correct.
So when you say the dock is at the end of the canal and is perpendicular to the seawall, it is anticipated to have minimal to no impact to the navigability of the waterway. Isn't that something that the city would have taken into account when they continue to require it only be 30 feet?
Yes.
So isn't this directly contradictory to number 1, as stated in your report?
In a way, it is, because the canal is the 180 feet platted versus most canals in Cape Coral, I believe, are between 60 and 80. It does allow them for a little bit more wiggle room to extend out.
Okay, thank you. And then looking at number 3, number 4, whether conditions exist that are not the result of the applicant, it seems to me that this condition is a result of the applicant's desire to have a bigger boat, so they would not fulfill that prong of criteria number 4. And I'm not really understanding the unnecessary undue hardship here. Did you want to expand on that a little bit?
It's not an unnecessary or a literal interpretation of a hardship per se, but if they did need to reconfigure the dock and tear it down, then it could cause, well, first it would be obviously monetarily expensive, but then it could cause other water quality issues as well. If they needed to completely tear it down, they would have to put in like a silt fence and in the turbidity curtain in the water, so that could be a possibility as well.
Or they could just leave it as is. All right. I don't have any other questions. Thank you. This is a public hearing. Are there members of the public who wish to provide input or testimony? Seeing someone stand up, I'm assuming that's a yes. No? Are you just changing seats? Oh, he's going outside. Okay. Thank you. Mystery solved. Seeing no one else here to testify at the public comment section of the public hearing, I'll close the public comment section of the public hearing, bring it back to the applicant. Sir, could I have you back up again? Thank you. Mr. Wakefield, you've heard my questions of staff. Do you have any further testimony you want to present on that or any other subject?
Yes. So the rule was changed for the side, and it was changed to 40 feet. And I think when they changed that, they were looking at Cape Coral as a whole. But because the canal is so wide, it's almost like I have one neighbor in the corner, and he's not even on the end of the canal. And then there's us, which is 90 feet. And then there's our neighbor to the south of us, and he's another 90 feet. And then there's one in the corner. So there's only two of us on the end. So what normally happens in Cape Coral, I mean, if you go, like, we take our boats through the canals, and there's like, I mean, it just looks like, just everything's like bottlenecked, and it's just really, difficult, I guess. And so I could see why they would have changed it to left it at the 30 feet for the end of the canals. But in this situation, it's almost like we're on the side because there's only two of us, and there's no impeding on anybody's waterway or anything. It's almost like I wish they would have been like, hey, if there's only two houses at the end of the canal and it's 180 feet, you could do it this way. And I know they didn't do it that way, but they should have. And so we're in a unique situation, and we're just asking for, you to help us. And I know you keep saying we want a bigger boat, but I mean.
Well, I don't know that you want a bigger boat. That's why I assumed that you wanted the extra 10 feet. I don't know what you want, actually.
Well, right now we have a 24-foot Yamaha, and we love boating in the area. We've been coming down here for over 10 years now, and we just love the area. And we do eventually want to get a boat that we could, spend more time on. And unfortunately, it's going to need to be longer. And we love the canal. We love where we're at. And it's huge down there. It's just amazing. And so for you to deny just on this is the rule, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But I don't want to disrespect you at the same time.
It's okay. This is your chance to say anything you want.
Yeah, and if we do get a bigger boat, which we plan on doing, it's my neighbor who just moved in. He has a large boat, and so we would just be parked right next to each other, and so we wouldn't. So the only people that we would affect the view would be him and I. That's it. And so we're going to be parked right next to each other. We're not going to affect his view at all, and he's not going to affect our view. And so we just humbly ask that you approve this.
Mr. Wakefield, you have a very impressive way of presenting your argument. I'm going to take it under consideration. Is there anything else that you want to testify to this morning?
Emily?
I don't think your wife wants to help you out here.
No, and she's the applicant.
I know. I figured that one out already.
Thank you.
You're all by yourself here, sir.
Yep, just thank you.
Maybe she'll take you out to breakfast, too.
Yeah.
All right. Staff, any further comments?
Not at this time, no, ma'am.
Okay, fine, thank you. I am going to take it under advisement. Mr. Wakefield, you did present some very compelling arguments. I will give you that, and the fact you're probably not accustomed to doing that in public and in this type of a place is even more impressive. So I'm going to review the code and make a decision. I do make these decisions quickly, so you don't have to worry about waiting a long time. Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to close this hearing at this time and move on to the next one. Madam Clerk, thank you.
PUD 22-000010, address multiple addresses. Applicant, Bimini Square LLC, Scarlet Investments LLC, care of Avalon Engineering Incorporated. Bimini Square LLC and Scarlet Investments LLC are requesting approval of a mixed-use plan unit development, MXPUD, entitled Bimini Square. The project consists of 3 separate sites, collectively comprising 5.61 acres, located south of Cape Coral Parkway East and west of Sunset Court. The owners request approval of a rezone from mixed-use Bimini District to a MXPUD and approval of a master concept plan for 218 residential units over 58,000 square feet of non-residential uses and a parking garage. It is anticipated that Lee Health will be the main tenant in the project and will lease over 40,000 square feet of space for medical office use. The parking garage will be 6 stories in height and will provide space for 500 vehicles. The project will also include a site on the north side of the Bimini Basin that will feature a waterfront restaurant with a promenade and boat slips to the rear of the building. Streetscape improvements will be provided along the largest site with frontage on Cape Coral Parkway. Off-site improvements will include curb, gutter, sidewalks, and on-street parking along several local streets. Staff recommends approval the MXPUD subject to conditions which are contained in the staff report. Any person giving testimony today, if you are able, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Good morning, Mr. Strube.
Good morning, Madam Hearing Examiner. For the record, Mike Struve, Planning Team Coordinator with the Planning Division. This case was advertised, and that included placing an ad in the news press 10 days in advance of this hearing date, sending out letters to all property owners within 500 feet of the 3 sites, and then posting at least 1 sign on all 3 sites.
Thank you. We'll find the proper notice was given. I do also want to put on the record that I performed a site visit prior to today. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Here we have the applicant's representative up. Good morning, Ms. Miller.
Good morning. I have an extensive team with me today, and I will be introducing them and then calling them up when they have their slides.
Thank you. And I saw that you had proffered resumes or CVs.
Yes.
And you know the rule is we can't accept documents from the applicant's rep, so you're going to have to recite them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Or from staff. It's not just the applicant's rep.
Good morning. Again, my name is Linda Miller. I'm a Vice President of Avalon Engineering, and I'm the planner for this project. I do represent Bimini Square LLC and Scarlet Investments LLC on Bimini Square Plan Unit Development, which is PUD 22-10. It is 5.61 acres on Cape Coral Parkway, Sunset Court, Tudor Drive, and Palm Tree. The request is to rezone 5.6 acres from mixed-use Bimini MXB zoning district to a mixed-use plan development MXPUD and obtain approval of a master concept plan.
Do you want me to ask you questions as we go, or do you want me to wait till the end?
You can, yeah, whichever you feel comfortable with.
I know it's kind of a complex request, that's why. All
Yes.
right, thank you.
So the reason for this request is that the subject parcel would like to provide medical office space needed for Lee Health. In this area of Cape Coral. Lee Health has stated that there's additional general services, testing, treatment facilities that are needed in the downtown area. The Bimini Square project will provide the square footage necessary for Lee Health to expand their services while providing for parking and accessibility. The city's mixed-use Bimini MXB zoning district specifies that office uses may only comprise 20% of the linear ground floor area, excluding the width of the parking garage. So, of course, with a large medical office space being utilized for the project, in this particular plan, we're comprising 95% of the linear ground floor frontage on Cape Coral Parkway for office uses. The Bimini Basin, mixed-use Bimini zoning district doesn't specify the difference between office uses. So medical office is not specified, it's just all grouped together under office. I have with me today the owner of Bimini Square LLC, the owner of Charlotte Investments LLC, the mixed-use building designer from PDS. I also have the waterfront restaurant building designer from GMA. I have a landscape architect here, the restaurant operator, the traffic engineer, the environmentalist, and we also have the civil engineer for the project from Avalon. I'd like to introduce Larry, if Larry would come up, please.
Good morning, Madam Hearing Examiner. My name is Larry Nygaard, for the record. I'm from Fargo, North Dakota. I'm the owner and one of the owners and the developer of the Bimini Square project. This has been a real passion for myself for the past 2.5 years as I've worked through a number of different development initiatives on this site. And I think we've settled on something that is really exciting for the city of Cape Coral. It provides a wonderful gateway to the downtown city of Cape Coral from the west, and of course it also supplements some much needed medical services in that area of town by providing them the size of clinic and the required parking that a clinic demands for that business. So we're really excited to be here. I've got a great team of experts with me. Linda Miller is going to be doing most of the presentation. I've got experience in Cape Coral over the last 5 years. I've developed this is my third project. The first one was the Cape at Savona Point, which was a multifamily project that is completed and operational now. I've got a current project under construction called the Club at Pine Island, which is at 325 Pine Island Road. That is under construction, and I'm excited to present this today. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Linda Miller.
I did want to make a comment to you, Mr. Nygaard.
Yes.
I don't know if this comment goes to you or Ms. Miller, excuse me, or to the team, but I was very impressed by the way that that your team reached out to the community. As you know, or I don't know if you know, Mr. Nygaard, but certainly Ms. Miller knows, I am a big fan of community involvement, community input, community cooperation, and community knowledge. And when I read that part of the documents, I was very impressed with how well that was handled. I'm not commenting on the overall project. I'm just saying that the reaching out to the community was very impressive.
Well, we had several meetings with the larger group and also their representatives, and comments that they've made were factored into our development along the way. So yeah, that was a valuable part of our overall plan.
And I'm sure that was something that you folks took into consideration as you developed. And I saw UF had a participation at one point in developing some ideas about this situation as well.
Yes.
So I'm hopeful that other folks coming forward with PUDs will take this as an example of community outreach and act accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll turn it over to Linda, but I'll be available for questions if they come up.
So I'm going to move on, and the project consists of 13 parcels ranging in size from 0.23 acres to 1.74 acres, and it actually is in 3 distinct site areas. The green is the mixed-use development. It consists of 4.26 acres, the waterfront restaurant site, which is 0.92 acres, and then the restaurant parking lot, which is 0.39 acres. All the parcels are separated by public streets, and 5 of these parcels previously had residential buildings. So this is a redevelopment of the site. This is a zoning map and shows the zoning areas here. If you can see, all of these areas are designated in blue, which is the mixed-use Bimini zoning district in the city. We are adjacent to some yellow a couple streets away from us, which are single-family. Red is commercial. Light brown is residential, multifamily, low density. Have a land use map here. The orange color is the downtown district. Of course, everything adjacent to us is in the downtown district. Yellow is single family, which is a few streets away. Brown is multifamily across the street on Cape Coral Parkway, and red is the commercial professional uses. And as you mentioned earlier, we did have community meetings. Our first community meeting was held on January 26th of this year, and it was at the Chester Street Community Center. We had a huge turnout there. We actually had to break the meeting up into 2 different meetings because of the limitation of how many people we could have in the building. But we had a great turnout. We asked people to sign up, to give us their email addresses so that we can notify them. 52% of the people that attended live near the project site, 20.9% live in the general area of the project site. And then on February 24th and again on April 27th, Larry and I met with separate groups, the Sunset Towers and the Bimini Villas. We sent out 2 group email updates. We respond to anyone that sends in a response to us or a question to us regarding this particular project. Really happy about that too. So here's the master concept plan. All PUDs have to have master concept plans because you're establishing your specific zoning regulations for this particular project. It establishes the setbacks, the open spaces, the building sizes, the building heights. It establishes your access points, your drainage areas, your parking lots. It establishes everything that you would normally find in a certain zoning district within the city of Cape Coral is established here. So this master concept plan talks about all the different sites that we have here, the building square footages of the building, the uses on the property. So our uses for this particular property are retail, office, restaurant, and multifamily. So a little bit about the project, which is shown on the master concept plan. We will have 218 multifamily units. 198 of those units will be in building B and C, and 20 units will be in building A. We have a total of 48,181 square feet of medical office space in buildings A and C. We have a total of 7,841 square feet of waterfront restaurants, a total of 2,536 square feet of other commercial uses. So that could be a restaurant, retail, or other office space. Our density is 38.85 dwelling units per acre. The Bimini zoning district that we're rezoning from was 125 dwelling units per acre. So we're way under that amount for density. Our total intensity is 2.39 FAR with 58,558 square feet, which is way under the allowable intensity for this project. We have unit mixes. We're going to have studio-size apartments, and they are 642 square feet. 15 of those, 91 one-bedrooms, 808 square feet to 1,054 square feet. 106 two-bedrooms that are 1,071 to 1,598 square feet, and 5 three-bedroom units that are 1,514 square feet. 1,514 square feet. And as I mentioned before, our uses are retail, office, restaurant, and residential, multifamily, commercial parking lot, or garage. This is just a blow-up of our site plan. I would like to introduce Noelle, if she would come up, the civil engineer for the project.
Hi, my name is Noelle Villum. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of Florida and the civil engineer for this project. So for the utilities to service this area, we have a letter of availability from the city and are working with them for any improvements that need to be made to the existing lines. And for stormwater, we are within the CRA area. So exfiltration trenches will be utilized to provide water quality before the stormwater discharges into the Caloosahatchee. So is there any questions?
Thank you. I do have some questions about hurricane protections, given what we've all just gone through. But I don't know if you'd be the proper one to address that. All right. Can you tell us a little bit about the hurricane protections that this project's going to afford, especially the neighborhood in general? Thank you.
So I believe the existing grade is around 5, and to meet FEMA, there will be floodproofing to the building to protect for the flood and to meet that requirement, which Tyler with PDS can add to, but there will be flood protection on the building.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll just add another point on that. All the multifamily units will be above the flood area. The only thing that will need the flood proofing is the office spaces along Cape Coral Parkway. The restaurant along the water will be built at flood, is at the required flood elevation.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. So we have parking requirements within the city's downtown district, and we are required 450 445 spaces. We have a requirement of 218 spaces, one for every multifamily unit, one space for every 100 square feet of restaurant uses, and one space for 400 square feet of medical office uses. So that totals 445 spaces. We are providing 603 spaces. 500 will be in the parking garage, 66 in surface parking spaces, which is in 3 locations, and 37 street spaces. Our open space percentage for this particular project will be 35%, or 1.97 acres. And we have some open space in every one of the different parcel developments. Our maximum building height for buildings A through C is 4 to 6 stories and 82 feet and 4 inches. And the waterfront restaurant is 1 story, 30 feet, 10 inches.
If I can go back to the parking for a
Sure.
moment? Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay, go ahead.
Perhaps this is a better
You can go
slide
back.
for us to be on. I did have an opportunity to review the CRA discussion. I'm not sure if it was a hearing or a discussion. I think it seemed to be more of a discussion. But there was a question raised about whether parking would be available to the general public. And I saw you, I don't believe you had an opportunity to address that at that
No.
time. We can address it later in your presentation by you or another one of your team, or we can address it now, whichever you prefer.
Sure, I can go ahead and address it now. So we met with the CRA board on November 1st, and staff did a wonderful presentation for the board, and the board had individual questions. One of the questions were we required to put in that additional parking lot area for the restaurant? And we were not required to do that, of course, because we were over-parked by city code standards, but Larry hired a really great group of people to investigate our true parking needs for this development, and that's my next slide about the parking report. So the report stated there was one specific time frame where it's a possibility that the parking spaces in the garage would be all utilized. So that's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So you could still have some people coming into your appointments for your medical services. You could have people returning home to their multifamily unit, and you could also have people coming into the restaurant, getting ready to come into the restaurant staff. And in looking at that, everyone kind of agreed that we didn't want to issue with the 3 o'clock. So that's the reason why we did the parking lot area that the restaurant could utilize for their staff. But other than that, we had no issues with any time frame within the parking report.
And you're right, I misspoke, because I don't believe that Commissioner Slaughter raised the question that I just raised. So thank you for augmenting that part of
problem.
that discussion.
So we are going to have the street parking, which is not guaranteed for any of our customers or clients or owners within the units or renters within the units. So those are available. 37 spots would be available for anyone to utilize along the street.
For the general public?
Yes,
But the parking garage itself will be reserved for the medical and the restaurant and the residents, I assume?
I can let Larry come up and answer that question.
If we know, it might be early in the process to make that decision. Yes, sir.
Sure. Right now, the way we've prepared our parking study was the only spaces in the ramp that are reserved, specified use would be pari passu with the apartment units. So we have 198 units that would be reserved. The entire rest of the lot, with a few exceptions around the entrance doors to the clinic, would be public parking. So we don't plan at this point to have attendants or gates or passes or any of that. So in other words, it would all be free for public use. Whether they're going to visit the medical office, clinic, or whether they'll use the restaurant or the office space, it doesn't really matter. We've just created enough parking. And anytime you reserve, you start to create bottlenecks and pinch points. And so we're going to try to make it all free flow for public, but for the reserved parking, 198 units of reserved.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that extra information.
Now that we're on the CRA meeting, there was a question regarding infrastructure that was brought up, and Noel has been working really closely with the city utility department to coordinate the upgrades that the city is planning on doing to that area, to what our services needs are and what size lines we would have. So that is a coordination factor, and of course, their lines and our lines would have to be put in at the same time before we could open up. And this is the parking demand study, and I think you got a copy of that, but it was done by Desmond Design Management, and they did a thorough review of all of the uses that we were planning, and it broke it down by time frames and how many parking spaces were going to be utilized at that time. At this time, I'd like to bring up Chris. He's the landscape architect.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Chris Anaskevich. I'm a landscape architect with Placemaker Design Studio. I'm also a certified arborist, and I'd like to be recognized as an expert witness.
Could you put your credentials on the record, please? Thank you. I know you'd provide your CV, but we don't accept documents from anyone during the course of the hearing, so.
I understand. I have my undergrad degree from the University of Florida. I've been practicing 20 years here in Florida. I also have a master's degree in business from the University of Florida as well. As I mentioned, I'm a certified arborist. I'm track certified with ISA to evaluate trees as well.
I'm sorry, could you identify ISA? Thank you.
International Society of Arboriculture, so certified arborist, and I'm licensed with the state of Florida as a landscape architect.
I will recognize you as an expert based upon your recitation of your credentials. Thank you.
Thank you. So again, I'm with Placemaker Design Studio, and one of my roles is sort of to help with the exterior environment and the exterior design. And I'll briefly go over some of the landscape components of this project. I know the developer was very concerned about the overall aesthetic, and so we spent a lot of time on how the exterior environment was designed. For instance, around the perimeter of the mixed-use site, we have shade trees that are placed 30 feet on center. The shade trees would incorporate both native trees and Florida-friendly trees and flowering trees as well. Around the perimeter of the building, we've softened the hard edges by layering plant material. And again, we would use a variety of native plants and Florida-friendly plantings. Some of the amenity components of the site include an interior courtyard that will have some amenities such as bocce ball and seating and a grilling area. There's also a rooftop pool area amenity. There is a dog park that's part of the larger parcel as well. And then, as mentioned, there's a restaurant that has outdoor seating. We've incorporated landscape within the seating area as well. There's an undulating wall to create some separation between the marina and the patio area to sort of enhance that outdoor seating experience. We've also spent some time on softening up the edges that have adjacent residential uses. So on both sides of the restaurant, we have incorporated trees and shrubs and ground covers to screen those edges and screen the vehicular use areas. And for the remote parking area, we have a similar situation in that we've incorporated a buffer around the parking area, and we've included trees and some accent trees in that area as well. Some of the trees that we've incorporated into the plan include black olives, blueberry, Japanese blueberry trees, southern magnolias, live oaks, and mahoganies. Again, many of those are native trees. And that's all I have, but I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
I was very impressed with the selection of the trees. I know a lot of folks like to go towards the palm trees, which are of course native and are very popular. But I like the incorporation of the shade trees, and I may be one of the few people you talk to who actually owns a Japanese blueberry tree, which has no blueberries other than the birds. But I was impressed with the selection of the planting. So I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, I would like to call up the environmentalist. Shane?
Good morning.
Hi, good morning. For the record, Shane Johnson, Vice President and Senior Ecologist with the environmental consulting firm of Passarella and Associates. And I'd also like to request to be accepted as an expert, primarily in this case, regarding listed wildlife species. And I'll walk through my background for you. I believe you do have a copy of my resume.
Actually, I don't, because we don't accept documents during the hearing.
Okay.
But
Well,
thank you.
I'll be happy to go over my background real quick. So essentially, I've been conducting environmental work in Southwest Florida for approximately 20 years now. I obtained my Bachelor of Science degree from Southern Illinois University, Carbondale, in zoology with an emphasis in wildlife management and a minor in chemistry back in 1999. So I started working here in Southwest Florida at the Sanibel Captiva Conservation Foundation as a shorebird technician, overseeing the nesting and breeding populations of the shorebirds on Sanibel and Captiva at that time in 2003. Shortly after, joining the environmental consulting firm of Passarella and Associates in 2004. So I've been there for going on almost 19 years now. And as part of my responsibilities, I've conducted a wide variety of field work, wetland delineations, wetland monitoring, habitat mapping, and a whole variety of listed wildlife surveys.
Thank you. We'll find you as an expert in the area that you've requested. Thank you.
So I'm here this morning just to briefly go over the results of our listed species survey that we conducted on the property. And as you can see on this aerial, there's a few white dots. There's 7 in total. Those represent burrowing owl burrows that we observed on the property during our species survey. And as you probably know, the burrowing owl is listed as threatened by the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. So we conducted our survey in July 2021. Those were the only listed species that we observed on the property, and there were no listed plant species observed. So with respect to the burrowing owl and the burrows that we had located on the property, there were 3 owls associated with 3 of the burrows we observed. So the other 4 were not necessarily occupied, but they're still protected. So the applicant was proactive in understanding that this is a threatened species and applied for and obtained a nest removal permit from the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. And that, for the record, that permit number is LSN-21-00283. So that allows for the removal of these burrows. And let me explain that we just can't go and take the burrows whenever we want to. This is a pre-construction related item, and we're required to inventory the site again prior to collapsing the burrows. And we cannot take active burrows, that is, those that contain flightless young or eggs. So we, as the biologists involved, have to put a fiber optic scope down each of the burrows to confirm that it doesn't have flightless young or eggs. And then we carefully excavate and then collapse the burrows prior to construction.
It's interesting. I've never heard that described before. How does the scope not disrupt the fledglings, though?
Well, again, we do careful observations to observe behavior of each of the burrows before we go in with a scope. That's very important. So if we're noticing some adult activity, they're acting really weird as we approach the burrows, sometimes we'll back off and come back at a later date. But we are very careful. The camera's pretty small, so it's really not that intrusive. So we do carefully inspect the burrows, and again, if we do observe any eggs or flightless young, we back off and have to come back at a later time after that nesting season is concluded for that particular burrow.
How long is the nesting season?
The nesting season in general is February through July. Owls can, nest outside of that period. That's why it's really important to observe behavior and use the camera carefully. But we can go in and collapse and destroy the burrows during that nesting season period, again, assuming that they're not active, no flightless young, no eggs.
But then when the fledglings grow up, do they create another burrow like on that same property, or do they leave, or?
They could, and typically, and this is outlined in the conditions of the permit, typically we like to do this immediately before construction. So once the burrows are destroyed, excavated, is when we anticipate ground disturbance immediately after. So they do have strong site fidelity and can come back if there's a prolonged period of time between when we remove the burrow and when construction starts. That's why we try to tighten up that window as much as possible.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Any questions?
No questions, thank you.
So there was quite a few conditions in the staff report for this particular project, and we as a team are in agreement with those conditions with the exception of one, number 12. Number 12 reads, all vehicles entering the parking garage shall use the entrance on the south side of the garage along Tudor Drive. Vehicles shall be prohibited from entering the parking garage from Cape Coral Parkway. Vehicles exiting the parking garage may use either Cape Coral Parkway or Tudor Drive. I would like to bring up Ted from TR Transportation to discuss this need for this entrance into the parking garage and the traffic study. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Hearing Examiner. Ted Shreesh with TR Transportation. I have been accepted as an expert in traffic and transportation planning and asked to be accepted again this morning.
Well, in fact, you've been accepted by this very person as an expert, so based upon that, I will accept you as an expert today. Thank you.
We conducted the transportation analysis for this application process and working with staff. This table here just reflects the trip generation of the uses that we utilized for our analysis that was included in the transportation study. When we look at assigning the trips to the various intersections and side access drives.
What would you consider a high turnover sit-down restaurant?
I'm sorry?
What would you consider to be a high turnover sit-down restaurant? It's in your prior slide.
We classified this restaurant based on the ITE classification. It's your typical restaurant where you would walk in and you get table service. It's not... ITE classifies restaurants in several different categories. The next would be a quality restaurant. A quality restaurant in this area, I would think, would be like a Ruth's Chris. That would be like a quality restaurant. A high turnover sit down would be something like what this restaurant would be, where you would come in, see your hostess, they would seat you at the table, you would get table service. There would be typically maybe a bar at the restaurant. Your typical dining is maybe 45 minutes to an hour. It doesn't have counter service where you would order at a counter, something like that. So it's table service where you're seated and you're served at your table.
Thank you.
So this is a graphic from the traffic study that shows our assignments of those trips to the various driveways that are shown on the master concept plan that Linda had showed you previously, and I'll get into this in a little bit and show you how it relates to the master concept plan. And this is the conclusion of our traffic study. From a level of service standpoint, there's adequate capacity on the surrounding roadways. We looked at Cape Coral Parkway, Palm Tree in the area. We looked at 2027 as the build-out year, and it showed there was adequate level of service. We looked at intersection level service, and it showed that the intersections would operate at an acceptable level of service. And then we received the staff comments and their particular concern, and I'll go back to the master concept plan and go over the access drives that are serving this property. Of particular concern of staff was the entrance on Cape Coral Parkway that's in the center between the two existing intersections. You've got Palm Tree Drive on the left side of your screen, which is a signalized intersection on Cape Coral Parkway. And then to the east of that, along our eastern boundary, is Sunset Drive, which is an unsignalized intersection, which is a right in, right out, and a left in. So you can turn left in if you're coming from the east, heading westbound on the parkway. You can turn left in to that intersection. But then in the middle of the project is an entrance, which in today, if you're there currently, I don't know if we have an aerial photograph. Do we have an aerial? If you visit the site, there's an existing street that is there today that basically is being vacated as part of this. Has it been vacated already? It has been vacated already. But there is an existing street there today that travels between the Parkway and Tudor Drive, which is the curved street to our south, that has a right in, right out on the Parkway. And that's where the entrance to the parking garage is. And it's not, I know it's hard to see on this screen, but the parking garage is set up to operate with two-way circulation aisles. If you're familiar with, if you use parking garages a lot, sometimes you'll see different circulation patterns within parking garages. Some may have one-way aisles where you circulate within a parking garage in a one-way pattern. This garage has two-way aisles throughout the parking garage. So each aisle within the garage is a two-way aisle. And so we have two entrances into this parking garage facility. One is on the north end off of Cape Coral Parkway, and one is on the south end off of Tudor Drive. And staff's concern, and we were notified late in the process that they would like to restrict access on to Cape Coral Parkway and restrict the movements at that intersection to an exit only onto the parkway. And it's our feeling and our concern is that we would also like to have an entrance, a right in only at that location. There's no medium break on the parkway. Movements are restricted to right in, right out only at that location. And we don't feel it's a health and safety issue. The sidewalk we're providing along the frontage of that parcel is a wider sidewalk for pedestrians. So from a sight distance standpoint, if you're approaching the site from the west and you want to turn into the site, into the garage, you have plenty of sight distance to be able to see any pedestrians that are walking in front of the site, that you might be turning right into this parking garage, that you would be able to yield to those pedestrians. So sight distance is not an issue in seeing those pedestrians. This is in the downtown district. You know, from a downtown district, I would think from a traffic and a planning perspective, we don't want to encourage high-speed traffic. I know this section of Cape Coral Parkway here is still 6 lanes, but this project is trying to, the buildings have been pushed up towards Cape Coral Parkway to give it that downtown feel. So we want to encourage, lower speed traffic and be able to encourage that downtown feel. So, and again, by restricting the access on the parkway, all the inbound trips are now forced onto Tudor Drive. So if you're coming off the parkway, which again, the majority of the trips into and out of this project are coming from the north, from the east, and from the west, they will all be forced to come either down Palm Tree Drive or Sunset next to the residential towers to our east or the residential to our west, and then come down Tudor, interact with pedestrians that would be crossing Tudor to get to the restaurant, and create more conflict with pedestrians at that location. You can see on the master concept plan we have a crosswalk across Tudor Drive to get from the parking garage, from the main site to the restaurant, because there is no parking on the restaurant lot on the canal side. We have there is a drop-off lane, so if you come to the restaurant, you can pull into the restaurant in the front. You can drop off your spouse or significant other to get a table, and then you can go park. There's a few parking spaces a little to the east, but the majority of the parking for the restaurant will be in the parking garage, and again, for the employees, will be on that off-site lot to our west. So again, it's our feeling that the parkway, there's no other driveways on the parkway that have a similar restriction. It's our opinion from a health and safety standpoint that the right-in, right-out will operate in a safe and efficient manner. By restricting it to a right-out only, we're encouraging, or we're forcing all the traffic onto Tudor Drive and creating more of a situation on Tudor Drive by requiring all the entering traffic down on the south. We're creating more congestion within the parking garage on the south side, creating more congestion within the parking garage during the circulation within on that first level. And that's why we need at least two egresses from the parking garage, or ingresses from the parking garage into the parking garage to be able to get safely into the facility to accommodate this level of development. Again, because the majority of the traffic during the day is going to be related to the medical office uses that Lee Health are going to be using. So some of it may be an older driver population visiting the facility, so we want to be able to give them the most opportunity to be able to get into the site, not having to circulate around, trying to figure out where's the entrance, how do I get in here, trying to figure out how to get in and find a parking space. So again, from a health and safety standpoint, we feel this site's laid out from an adequate standpoint to be able to accommodate the trips into this project. We feel by allowing the right in off of Cape Coral Parkway, we feel that condition should be removed, and the site should be approved as we've presented it here this morning. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions.
Do you have a concern about, there's been prior testimony regarding certain what I'll call high traffic times when the restaurant is open, and there may be overflow with medical appointments, and that would generate additional traffic, of course, and the testimony's been that so far. What I'm thinking is, if that traffic is coming down Cape Coral Parkway, isn't it, and under your scenario, doing a right-in into the parking garage, couldn't that create a bottleneck in that lane coming off of Cape Coral Parkway, and couldn't that create a potentially dangerous situation? Or cars backing up trying to get into the parking garage when there's cars in front of them?
No, I don't believe so, because the way we've designed the parking garage, there's no conflicts as you turn in to create that bottleneck. Once you turn into the parking garage, you're going to be on the ramp moving into and finding your parking space within the facility. So that's a free flow movement into the garage. So there's no stop condition turning into that driveway. So there's nothing that would create a bottleneck turning into that facility.
Okay, thank you. I have no other questions.
Thank you.
Just to confirm what Ted said, the parking garage will not be gated. It will not get a slip, have to stop anywhere. So when you pull into the garage, you will be moving up the ramp system. I'm really glad that he brought this image back up, because there was one thing I forgot to mention to you. We do have a lot of off-site improvements that are required for this particular project. We are modifying Palm Tree Drive and Tudor Drive and Sunset Court by adding extra lane with curb, gutter, and sidewalk.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I come to the elevations of the project, the fun stuff, the really pretty pictures. So I'd like to bring up Tyler Peterson from PDS.
Good morning.
Morning, Madam Examiner. My name is Tyler Peterson. I'm the president of PDS Architecture. Quick little rundown. I've been a resident of Southwest Florida for 35 years. I started PDS Architecture 12 years ago. Prior to that, I worked for another large firm here in Southwest Florida. Our firm primarily specializes in large-scale multifamily developments throughout Southwest Florida. I have previously been recognized as an expert by the City of Marco Island, Lee County, as well as the City of Fort Myers.
What is your educational criteria?
My educational criteria, I attended Edison Community College and studied drafting and design. I am not a licensed architect. I do have 3 on-staff licensed architects on our firm, and I'm the owner.
I will recognize you as an expert based upon your recitation. Thank you.
Thank you. So I will be quickly talking about the design of the building, and then we will also discuss any of the FEMA flood regulations. I noticed you mentioned that earlier. So the overall design of the building was to create a consistent design concept, obviously the primary focus being on Cape Coral Parkway. I would consider this to be a coastal contemporary design, edging more on the higher end design parameters, which I think Cape Coral is kind of merging into. We do have a multifamily component as well as the medical office component. The residential component that you will see over on the right side of the building above the medical office, we've tried to create a wedding cake design there, basically stepping the building back from the primary facade to help create a better pedestrian feel. We did set the building back from the edge of the road so that we could buffer it with landscaping, and again, try to promote a little bit more walking paths in that area, which I don't think we really have right now. The entrance to the parking garage, you can clearly see that centered there on the center of the building. We tried to make that as user-friendly as we could. Again, no gates within the garage to provide a very steady flow of traffic as it's required. We recently completed very similar projects in the city of Fort Myers with very similar parking garages. That would be City Walk as well as Triton K. So we do have experience with what that flow looks like within the parking garage, and just kind of getting people in and out and making their lives as easy as possible. Again, this would be the rear side of the building, very similar architectural design, keeping the building very clean, pedestrian friendly. This entire side of the building, you will notice, is elevated up above the street level. All of the residential units will be in compliance with the new FEMA flood maps, which would be 1 foot above freeboard. We'll get into the medical portion, which I know you're going to have some questions about the flood proofing there. Again, side of the building, very similar architectural concept, very clean, fairly contemporary, not a lot of ornamentation or, as we professionally refer to it, GAC stuck on the building, very clean, very simple designs. This is a rendering we prepared. We have multiple different views of the building, so you can get a very good feel for what we're actually proposing. Again, you will see to the right and left of the tower feature, we have incorporated wedding caking into the building design to step it back so that as you're driving down Cape Coral Parkway, you don't just have that massive canyon feel, which none of us like. This is the entrance to the parking garage. There on the rooftop of the parking garage, we will have an amenity area, which will have an infinity edge pool, so that people can be on top of the parking garage, look over Bimini Basin, and really kind of appreciate that whole area there. Here's a rendering of that. So again, infinity edge pool, amenity area up there, really looking out over Bimini Basin. We will have a small covered kind of seating area with the required restrooms. Again, just trying to make it as friendly as possible for both our residents, and then kind of elevating that community experience up on top of the parking garage, something I think you haven't really seen here in Southwest Florida yet. Another view of that amenity area, and then this is the restaurant, which we're not specifically involved in. So I'm going to go back to this elevation here. You can see on the lower portion, which is the right side of the building, that will be the medical office portion. That will be approximately 4 to 5 feet below the new FEMA flood maps. We have a lot of experience in dry flood proofing buildings throughout Southwest Florida. We've done them both here in Cape Coral, as well as on Fort Myers Beach.
I wouldn't bring up Fort Myers Beach.
Well, I bring that up specifically. We dry flood proofed a building at Times Square, and if you've seen the post images there, our building is actually one of the only 2 buildings left remaining.
Which one was it, out of curiosity?
It was the old T-shirt shop. It was T-shirt and ice cream right at the foot of the bridge when you come on.
I'm familiar with that.
Yeah, so we dry flood proofed that building 4 or 5 years ago, providing buoyancy calculations to basically show that the building's not going to lift up and float away. We provided storm shutters and flood proofing over all of the openings, and that, in my opinion, is why that building is still there. This building will be utilizing very similar features. We'll either be using a flood-proof storefront system or simply providing flood panels. The dry flood proofing will be done to 2 feet above the FEMA minimum floor height, which is a Cape Coral requirement. All of the interior walls will be treated with a waterproofing membrane so that no water can soak into the building. And then we also provide sump pits within the building in case some does manage to seep in there. We have a way to extract that water out. All of the plumbing is equipped with backflow preventers to make sure that no water comes in.
Are you talking about, and forgive my ignorance, but are you talking about something in the nature of a swale inside the building that would be covered except in an emergency?
It wouldn't be a swale. It's more of just like a small pit. We usually locate it like in a janitor's closet. The city of Cape Coral is actually one of the only municipalities that requires that. But it's basically what we usually do is recess the janitor sink into the floor so that if any water gets into the building, it's attracted to that area, and then you have a small sump pump that would pump it out of the building, similar to an elevator pit.
How's it get pumped out?
We have a pump in there that's operated on a battery system, and then it would just be piped outside
Goes out
of
with
the
the
building.
dirty water, you mean?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
I have no other questions, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Now we're going to go along to the restaurant, the waterfront restaurant. If I can have Ramon come up.
Good morning, sir.
Hi, good morning. I'm Ramon Acevedo, president of GMA Architect. I'm a graduate architect from Kansas State University with a professional degree in architecture, registered in the state of Florida, Texas, and South Carolina. I request to be accepted as an expert. I have been accepted as expert in City of Naples, Bonita Springs, and Lake County previously.
I will recognize you as an expert, thank you very much.
I'm also a member of the AIA and the NCAR, National Architectural Registration Board, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here. What we have here is a facility. We have worked with the family, Phelan brand and family for several projects. This will be actually our 6th project working together through the years. And we have developed a concept where it's very, very important for us, take advantage of the water. This will be kind of a old Florida style with coastal approach in the design and the design elements of the building. If you can see, the building is kind of centralized within the site, will allow you to have views toward the water on the west and in the east, It's got a very strong access with a covered drop-off, very lengthy drop-off area, so there's not going to be any issue with the valet parking service that they provide. And also it's a pass-by, so if you are dropping somebody, it still can flow for the double lanes. Within the strong access that you see of the entrance, also, we are developing like 2 wings, and we have used that concept before. If anybody is familiar with Deep Lagoon in Marine Max Complex in Fort Myers, we're taking advantage of the same concept where we have 2 wings that recognize the water with a very strong central access and outdoor seating in that space. The other part that I want you to address is how friendly pedestrian the circulation is in this site. You can see it from the west side, you have a sidewalk, and you can see how friendly it is toward the water. So it's very welcoming to all the pedestrians to circulate and surround the facility. These are the exterior elevation. What I want to pinpoint in this one is the scale. We, on purpose, we're trying to provide a very low scale. We don't trying to block any view from the residential development or multi-use development. So it's a very friendly pedestrian scale that we are providing in this building. The services are oriented toward the north, as you have restroom, you have kitchen, but then it's very, very transparent toward the water. You can see almost in every area of the restaurant, you're going to be able to appreciate the water. And also, it does provide covered outdoor seating. This is a rendering of the main view toward the north. As you can see the drop-off, you can see the hip roof, the metal roof, the combination of keystone veneer at the base of the building. There's also articulation and angle to comply with all the requirements for the architectural guidelines of Cape Coral, City of Cape Coral. And this is the other rendering from the south, from the water side, and here it's more clear the concept, and you can see the dynamic of the architecture, dormers, hip roof, the colonnade, the veranda basically concept that you have in the outdoor dining area, and the transparency and the taking advantage of the views. And at the same time, as you see the way the building is designed, it kind of creates a screen from the pedestrians, so there's privacy. At the same time, we're not interrupting any activity, but very, very open, very, very oriented toward the south, toward the view of the water. And if you have any question?
I have no questions. Excuse me, I have no questions. Thank you.
I do have with me Grant, the operator of the restaurant for Deep Lagoon. If you have any questions about hours of operation or their operation, he's available if you'd like.
I did have a question. I don't know if it should be directed to you or to the operator. I requested staff to pass it along to you. I'm sure they did. I have a concern about the amplified music, and I would like your comments or the operator's or any member of your team. I apologize. Comments about some type of a recognition about the amplified music and amplified other sounds going into the late evening in terms of affecting the neighborhood. That's not a condition that was recommended by staff. That's an item that I have brought up individually.
You want to come up? I was just going to answer it.
Hello.
Good morning.
So, how are you?
I guess we're still in the morning. Fine, thank you. Could I have your name, please, sir?
Grant Phelan with Phelan Family Brands.
Okay. And you were sworn in, I believe.
Yes. So on your question on amplified music, so the concept is going to be Deep Lagoon, which is very similar to what we have in Fort Myers. It's actually a copy of what we're doing across the river there. Our hours of operation are 11 till 10, so, and we don't currently do any amplified music. The only outside noise that you would have would be the natural radio playing in the restaurant. So we don't play it loud. It's not a concept where we stay open until 2 o'clock in the morning, have no want to stay open super late, and we have several projects in Cape Coral and Fort Myers that you know, we have residents around us, so we're very apt to handle what music needs and, you know, concerns of any neighbors that are around us.
All right, getting back to the amplified music question, you're saying you have a radio?
Well, just the
Like a
the
Sirius
natural music.
radio? I'm more concerned about live music and.
We don't do live music.
Okay. And the other thing I was thinking was, a lot of times restaurants, I don't know about yours, will have a party of two, ready, your table's ready, that type of kind of very loud enunciation.
We don't do that either. Whenever your party's ready, we send you a text message.
Okay. And what are the other restaurants that you're
So we have Pinchers in Tarpon Point.
I'm sorry, we have?
Pinchers Crab Shack in Tarpon Point. And then we have Texas Tony's on Pine Island Road. And then we have 23 restaurants in the area, the Bay
That's
House.
okay.
Those are the ones in Cape.
I was just wondering about the juxtaposition of the residential area and your restaurants.
So in Tarpon Point, we have the Pinchers is right there in the marina there. So we have condos right next to us there.
Okay, thank you very much. I have no other questions. We have a comment from the Assistant City Attorney.
Your Honor, I'd just like to point for the record that the city has John Niclerio, Assistant City Attorney. Just for the record, the city has noise regulations in place, and those would apply to this restaurant just like any other business in that community.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
So now you get stuck with me on just the technical stuff. So there's quite a few standards that we need to go through for this PUD, and this PUD is consistent with 3.4.6.b of the Land Development Code. There's 6 standards in here. Standard number 1, whether the proposed zoning district is consistent with the city's comprehensive plan. And further down in this presentation, you will see that we are consistent with quite a few of the city's policies and objectives. Number 2, whether the full range of uses allowed in the proposed zoning districts will be compatible with the existing uses in the area. Well, as we showed on the land use map and the zoning map, our project is within the mixed-use Bimini Basin zoning district area, which allows for multifamily and a variety of commercial uses. We are adjacent to commercial uses along Cape Coral Parkway, and we are adjacent to residential uses along the west, south, and east of us. So I think our development, multifamily retail office uses, along with the parking garage, are compatible uses within this area. Number 3, whether the range of uses proposed in the proposed zoning district are compatible with the existing or potential uses in the area under consideration. Again, we're in the mixed-use Bimini Basin area, which allows for multifamily commercial uses at any type of development. We see that we probably will not have new development around us on the west, east, and south sides, but we are consistent with the multifamily within our development. We only are permitted to ask for the uses that will be utilizing in our project, which are retail, office, restaurant, and residential. Any other additional uses that we need in the future, we would have to amend this PUD. Do want to point out that our density and intensity for our proposed development is far less than the established guidelines within the city's mixed-use land use regulations. Number 4, whether the proposed zoning district will serve a community need or a broader public purpose. We believe that it will. This development will establish a mixed-use building with residential and commercial uses. Both the residential and commercial uses being proposed are in high demand within this area of the Cape. Number 5, the characteristics of the proposed rezone area are suitable for the uses permitted in the proposed zoning district. The subject parcel has been designated by the City of Cape Coral as an area for redevelopment with specific development regulations. The mixed-use PUD proposed is consistent with the characteristics proposed for this area of the Cape. And the last one, number 6, whether a zoning district other than the district requested will create fewer potential adverse impacts to existing uses in the surrounding area. The one thing nice about the PUD process is we have to look at those impacts that we're providing instead of just a straight zoning district with a buffer yard. So we think that because we went through this PUD process, we've addressed those impacts to the surrounding area. So the full list of uses within the Bimini Basin area would maybe have some more impact than what we're proposing with our project. So we also have 7 standards that are required for a PUD zoning district from section 3.4.7.1. And number 1, every PUD shall be in conformance with the city's comprehensive plan. The downtown mixed-use land use established a total of 701 residential units on the subject 5.61 acres. We only are providing 218 units and 58,970 square feet of office, retail, and restaurant uses. So I think that we fall under the comprehensive plan for this downtown mixed use. Number 2, specific uses, densities, and intensities for each PUD are established in the PUD zoning ordinance. And we have established that here with asking and requesting for restaurant, retail, office. And as we said before, the densities are far less than what's allowed by code. And I think I'm missing one here, so if you give me a second, I'm not sure why this copied wrong, but I don't want to miss out a criteria. Nope, it's good. Number 3, elements to be evaluated for a PUD shall consist of appropriateness of the proposed or density or intensity of the development. And again, we're proposing a compound use building that contains residential multifamily units and commercial uses. B, internal and external compatibility of the development and the surrounding areas. The mixes of uses proposed for this development are compatible with the multifamily residential uses to the east and southwest and the west of our site. To the north of our site is commercial along Cape Coral Parkway. Number C, transition and separation between surrounding uses. The Bimini Square development consists of 3 separate parcels. The mixed-use parcel is separated from the surrounding uses by city streets on all sides. The waterfront restaurant is adjacent to existing covered parking structure on the eastern property line utilized by the tower's development and residential units along the western side. Special consideration for buffering and screening is provided on the western side of the restaurant to screen the existing residents from this use. The restaurant parking lot has city streets on 3 sides with an existing multifamily use on the western property line. A landscape buffer will be provided along the western property line to maintain a visual screen from the existing residents to the west. Additional landscaping is provided along all the streets, city streets. D, vehicle and pedestrian circulation patterns. We have a variety of pedestrian access and circulation within the site, sidewalks around the entire perimeter, sidewalk connection from the parking lot area, sidewalk connection to the restaurant. Circulation of those is separated from the vehicle use areas. We have the vehicle they park in the parking garages and in the separate surface parking areas. Arrangement and functionality of the open space. This development was incorporated with the city's vision for this area by locating the buildings along the streets and providing streetscape, connecting the street system to the development. Open space is utilized for landscape and areas to gather. Access points. Several access points are provided for this development. See the master concept plan for locations of these driveways. G, public amenities. The public amenities include a wide decorative sidewalk along Cape Coral Parkway and on-street parking spaces. H, additional amenities that will serve the project. The development will provide a rooftop amenity with a swimming pool and gazebo on the top level of the parking garage. I, I apologize, it's missing here. I'll just tell you what it is then, sorry. Details and designs of the internal and external buffer. A lot of landscaping is on play here with 35% open space, 20% of that is the green space area. So we've looked at the buffer yards required along the waterfront restaurant, along the restaurant parking lot area, and incorporated an opaque fence in that area, along with a wide range of landscaping there with shrubs and trees. Open space, there's this is number 4, and there's a lot of different aspects of the open space. It's A through G. A, for all PUDs except for IPUDs, a minimum of 25% of the total land area shall consist of common open space. Our project will be providing 35%, of which 22% will consist of green space. B, the amenities or offsite improvements shall be utilized by the city. So the Bimley Square project is not requesting a reduction to the open space requirement, which this is allowed to if we mitigate for those, but we are providing more than the required open space. C, areas that do not count for open space are parking lot, loading areas, streets, right-of-ways. They don't count for that. Our 35% does not include any parking, loading areas, or right-of-way improvements. D, areas that count for open space are water bodies, surface water detention areas, preservation areas, so forth. So we comply with all of those. Our open areas are green space, amenities, sidewalk areas, pedestrian paths are considered open space in our project. E, improvements required. All common open space and recreational facilities shall be shown on the PUD plan and be constructed and fully improved according to the development schedule. So the PUDs don't allow you just to go ahead and develop your buildings without putting in the requirements for your open space and your landscaping and your right-of-way improvements and your access points. So it all is required and attached in one package. Modifying the PUD would require us to come back in front of City Council and yourself. F, landscaping along sidewalks. As Chris mentioned, we have a lot of shade trees. We're covering the sidewalk areas, we're covering the edge of our property and the sidewalk areas along the perimeter of the site with shade trees. G, maintenance of the open space. Nice thing about having a compound use building and lots of different uses is there will be an association that will take care of the maintenance of the site, and those areas will be maintained for the use of the residents within this development and the customers that come in for any of the commercial uses. Number 5, the PUD perimeter buffers. As we talked about before, there's no requirement for a perimeter buffer. We're adjacent to streets. We have streetscaping and trees that are required. But because we're adjacent to residential along the western sides of both the restaurant and the parking lot area, we are providing a buffer there, which includes an opaque screening and also landscaping with trees and shrubs. Number 6, street standards. All streets, roads, and driveways shall be designed in accordance with the city engineering design plans. We've worked with the engineering department and the site development department on the requirements for off-site improvements. We are widening all of Palm Tree Boulevard, a lot of Tudor Drive, and Sunset Court. Those improvements are far beyond what would be normally required for the development of the site. Number 7, phasing. This all is going to be done in one phase. The multifamily building will be constructed in one phase. We might have some units that will be able to be in operation before, but it will be constructed as one phase. Now, the restaurant is, can construct before or, during that time frame. Last part of this is that we're consistent with a comprehensive plan. So there's a housing element and a future land use element, policy 1.6. They both talk about having the ability to provide housing needs to the city of Cape Coral. And, we're providing 218 additional units. 198 will be for the multifamily complex, and then 20 will be for Lee Health to bring in doctors and visiting nurses that will assist them with their operation. We're also consistent with 1.15K, which is the mixed-use land use. Bimini Basin will provide a vibrant, walkable, mixed-use development that has been envisioned in this downtown mixed-use land area in the city. Policy 3.1, the city will encourage the development of future commercial, office, retail, and other spaces near transportation nodes. While we're located on Cape Coral Parkway, major transportation node within the city of Cape Coral, we're going to provide some commercial uses along that roadway. Policy 7.3, the city will provide incentives for individuals and builders and developers to assemble land for future private uses. Well, we're not asking for any incentives for this, but we did assemble the properties as this is a redevelopment of this area in the downtown. Policy 13.3, in order to encourage and facilitate development and redevelopment, the city will provide service public facilities, mixed-use development allowed in the downtown community. Our project is a mixed-use project which will provide both residential multifamily units and commercial uses within the downtown community redevelopment area. And we will provide the necessary improvements needed to facilitate our project. Policy 14.3, all projects will be subject to concurrency review for transportation impacts. And as Ted mentioned, we provided a complete traffic impact study. Public Works reviewed it. You've been provided the copy of that report. We're consistent with the Conservation and Coastal Management Element Policy 1.2.19 and also Policy 1.7.9, which requires protected species analysis on your projects and affidavits that you will obtain the proper permits if you do have species on your site, and we have obtained those. And we're also consistent with the city CRA, Policy 3.1.2. We seek to optimize the capacity of on-street parking where appropriate. We're providing on-street parking spaces. Policy 3.1.7, encourage and provide incentives for new projects to use structured parking. So we're providing a structured parking lot, and we're providing more open space than required. Policy 3.3.1, utilize incentives, regulations, and develop negotiation process to encourage residential projects. And we're providing the 218 units. Policy 3.4.5, seek to encourage the development of retail and restaurant operations that have access to the waterway. What we don't have to ask and permission in this PUD is to have docks. And as you saw from all of our exhibits, we will have docks. So we expect that we will have, access to the restaurant and to any of the office spaces from docks. Those permits have to be obtained through different agencies, and before we would be able to, to construct the dock area. So this concludes my presentation and the team's presentation. So we all believe that the MX PUD is consistent with the city's comprehensive plan. We provided it in the staff report, we have it in the letter of our intent, and we presented it today at this presentation. Please accept this Planning Division staff report, the staff's recommendation of approval, and we're in agreement with that except for condition number 12. Please accept this presentation, the PUD application, the Planning Division's presentation, the expert witness testimony from our design team, and all of the supporting documents that have been submitted for this case into evidence. And we stand by to answer any other questions you may have.
I have no other questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning again, Mr. Struve.
Good morning again, Madam Hearing Examiner. For the record, Mike Struve, Planning Team Coordinator with the City Planning Division. And before I begin, for the purposes of this hearing, I'd like to be recognized. I'm requesting to be recognized as an expert in the area of land use planning based on my past testimony before you on similar matters and based on my credentials that are on file with the city clerk's office.
I will find you as an expert based upon your prior testimony regarding matters that are similar to the issues before us today in this application, and also based upon your credentials, which are on file with the clerk. Thank you.
Okay. And before I begin, I would like to mention that we do have several city staff here that are present with different, that are experts in different fields, if you will. We have staff here with the city police department, city fire department. I have engineers here from development services, from public works, specifically with transportation, and also with utilities. So depending on how you want to handle this presentation, if at any point that you have questions, I may be asking staff to come up.
Thank you. I was wondering if you would feel comfortable accommodating having public safety officials come first?
Sure.
With
Yep.
regard to various matters, because I know that the city likes to have their public safety folks back on
Sure, we can do that if you would like to hear from them today, if you have questions for them.
Is that acceptable to you?
That's absolutely acceptable.
Okay, thank you. All right. Gentlemen, thank you. Would you state your name for the record, please, sir?
Yeah, good morning. My name is Mike Russell. I'm the Deputy Chief for the Fire Department. Part of my responsibilities are to review any proposed land use changes or development for impact of the Fire Department. And what I do is talk to our staff and review any similar projects that we already have in the city for call volume or impact or issues that we have with those projects. So for this project specifically, we do not have any concerns or safety issues that we need to address. It will increase our call volume slightly, as will all the other developments that are going on downtown Cape Coral that we'll have to address separately, but we have no issues to address with this project.
Thank you. I appreciate you coming today. I think it's always important to hear from public safety with regard to a project of this magnitude. I know you've been sitting here for hours, so I appreciate your patience.
No problem, anytime.
I have no other questions.
Thank you.
Ms. Miller, are you going to have any questions of this gentleman, or can we excuse him?
No, ma'am, thank you.
I don't know if public safety will be involved in the discussion. I don't know if John Clario, Assistant City Attorney, I don't know if public safety will be involved in the discussion about condition number 12.
Well,
Do
that's
you have any concerns on the,
that's where I'm going next.
so I don't want to excuse them yet.
Thanks. That's where we're going next. Thank you very much. All right. Can we hear from the police representative, please?
Yes, we have Jason Castro representing police here today.
Okay.
Good morning. For the record, my name is Jason Wallace. I'm a sergeant with the police department. My job is the supervisor of our analytics unit. So I supervise criminal intelligence, but also planning and research, which is why I get involved with things like this. I have access to...
One hopes they don't interact too often, though.
No, this is... I want to point out that the police department is appreciative that our input is even being sought in these types of projects, and that our input has been considered. There's been plenty of discussion on things like traffic and noise, and those are some of our biggest concerns. Thank you for bringing up specifically the noise ordinance again. One of our concerns is that with any activity, particularly in the CRA area, for some reason noise always becomes an issue and our people get involved. I can absolutely appreciate the discussion about the restaurant and what their intentions are. I think that's fantastic. We're very appreciative of what this whole project is going to look like. And I'd like to remind everybody that the fact that this is a waterfront property does sort of change the dynamics a little bit, as noise does travel differently over water. So things that may not actually approach an actual violation as far as decibel levels may still result in nuisance activity that the police has to respond to, particularly on the south side of Bimini Basin where the multifamily houses are. I see that being a potential issue. One of our other concerns is of course traffic, and I think we can all agree that this project will increase both vehicular and pedestrian traffic, but I'm happy to see that efforts are being made to mitigate and manage those things. And I'd like to point out something that I haven't heard mentioned yet, is that a project of this nature that brings particularly the medical aspect, and they will provide a more localized service to the local region around this. While it will increase, say, vehicular traffic in that area, it may also reduce vehicular traffic in other areas of the city as people no longer have to travel from say, here to get up to the Cape Coral area where Cape Coral Hospital is and Vizcaya where the medical offices are. That's something that this city is somewhat lacking in, are strong localized pockets of service throughout the city to better manage our overall traffic problem. So the police department is very happy to see projects like this occurring because overall it will have a positive effect, we believe. One of our concerns, I believe that the issue with the parking garage was based on one of my concerns with traffic flow on Cape Coral Parkway. Cape Coral Parkway is a main ingress-egress out of the city, and as anyone who lives here knows, that getting over the bridge during peak times is painful at best, and anything that will occur to, say, add a new intersection, create a new stoplight, create a new stop and turn, for instance, to negatively impact that is going to lead to other issues. I personally don't see an issue with having access into the parking, in or out of the parking garage from Cape Coral Parkway, as long as traffic flow is accounted for, and there are things in place, such as they've mentioned, with it not being a gated parking garage, so there's no built-in stop to prevent cars from getting directly in and creating a traffic jam on Cape Coral Parkway, for instance. As long as these things are addressed and discussed, the police department is happy with that. Something I haven't heard mentioned yet, and I'll just point out, something to consider when finalizing the parking plan for the project. I know that it's everyone understands you have to put in fire lanes and handicap parking spaces, but no one has discussed yet, to my knowledge, whether or not there will be a need for marked, say, taxi zones or commercial rideshare pickup and drop-off areas, designated areas for that, and also whether or not there would be a need to have designated parking spots or areas for other public safety should the need arise. Some developments will mark off 2 or 3 parking spots close to residential so that the police have a place to park that's not going to block traffic if there's a 911 call, or that an ambulance has a place to go that's not going to block other traffic in the area. So that may or may not be needed here, but hopefully that's at least being discussed as part of the final plan.
Thank you, that's very comprehensive. I know we're going a little bit out of order, but Ms. Miller, did you have any questions of the witness?
Not at this time, no.
Okay, well, I was thinking of excusing him. So
I
do
think
you
we're
have any-
okay with his presentation.
Okay, fine, thank you very much. Anything else, sir?
No, ma'am. I just want to say that a project like this is very interesting, and while the police department doesn't condone specific projects or have an official opinion, I think these are the kinds of things that may have an overall positive impact, including on the way we provide service. So.
Thank you, and you brought up some very interesting points. I really appreciate your attendance today, and as with Mr. Russell, I know you've been here for hours, and I really appreciate you coming and for your patience in sitting through the presentations. Very much
Have a
so.
good day.
Mr. Russell, can I have you back up, sir? The Assistant City Attorney raises a good point. I didn't specifically ask you about your opinion and from your perspective regarding the write-in proposal of the applicant for the parking garage. If it has an impact on fire, it may not.
While I'm not an expert in traffic, I would kind of default to those folks, but I don't think it has any impact on us. It sounds like it will get people off the parkway quickly. I had the same concern of, now you got to stop, you got to get a ticket, got to wait for the arm to go up, but it does not sound like that's the condition, so it sounds like it will be a smooth ingress-egress.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Miller, do you have any questions based upon Mr. Russell's presentation?
No, ma'am. Thank you.
Do you have any objection to my excusing him at this time? Ms. Miller? Do you have any objection to my excusing him at this time?
No, I don't. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said Mike.
That's okay. It's been a long morning. I get it.
I get it. No, I don't. Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, you're excused. You're certainly welcome to stay, but if you're excused if you need to get back to work. Thank you. All right, and thank you, Mr. Strube, for your courtesy in taking taking those gentlemen out of order.
Certainly, we appreciate them being here
Yeah,
to
very
respond
much
to your
so.
questions.
Very much so, thank you. Sorry for the rest of staff, I think we need you more woven into the presentation.
So for my presentation, I'm going to try to pick up and maybe cover and maybe emphasize some points that Ms. Miller's team has not, in part just because our review of this project sometimes focuses on different aspects of the project than maybe the design team would naturally. So 2 owners involved, represented by Avalon Engineering. You already heard a little bit about the sites, 3 distinctly separate sites, all south of Cape Coral Parkway and west of Sunset Court in southern Cape Coral. Most PUDs, certainly those that are under 10 acres in area, have 2 components, or required to have 2 components. They involve a rezoned request and then approval of a master concept plan. And in particular, in this case, the applicant is seeking of approval of a master concept plan for a mixed-use development that would include 218 dwelling units, over 58,000 square feet of non-residential or commercial units, and a parking garage. This is an aerial map showing the 3 Bimini sites outlined in red and the surrounding area. The surrounding area mainly consists of a mixture of commercial uses to the north and largely residential uses in the other 3 directions, although there is some scattered commercial development both to the east and to the west. You'll notice here on the middle of the aerial map here, you'll see Pine Tree Court. I think Mr. Treesh mentioned that during his presentation. That is located near the midpoint of what we refer to as Site 1. That particular street has been vacated and was vacated back in 2016. So now it is part of the applicant site, even though the pavement remains here to this day. And I think I've covered most of these items on this background already. This is a map from our staff report, and it's to try to provide clarity in separating and making distinctions between the 3 different projects, sites 1, 2, and 3. We refer to these in our staff report, both in the narrative of the staff report and also in the conditions of approval. And as it so happens, there is a progression or a decrease in areas and move from Site 1 to Site 3, 1 being the largest site, over 4 acres, and that's where the majority of the development will be. That will be where the mixed-use development will occur, which will include the residential units, the professional office space, and the parking garage. Site number 2, which is adjacent to the Bimini Basin, just under an acre, will be the home of the future waterfront restaurant. And then site number 3, the smallest of the 3 sites, located furthest west, will be used as surface parking. And these are just photos of the 3 sites that were taken probably about a month ago, maybe now closer to 5 weeks ago, prior to Hurricane Ian. This is the master concept plan that the applicant has brought forward for approval, and we have done a little bit of annotating here to make the various streets a little bit more prominent, and also to overlay the site numbers on this particular plan. So you'll notice on site number 1, there are 3 buildings. Building A at the northwest corner, Building C at the northeast corner. These will be truly mixed-use buildings. They will contain both residential and non-residential uses. Building B, which is located to the furthest south, will contain only residential uses, and that's the building that is located in closest proximity to existing residential development. Parking garage is centrally located on site number 1, and even though we're talking here about 3 or 4 different buildings, from sort of a casual observer standpoint, these buildings will appear to be seamless and will basically appear to be a cohesive single development. You've already seen this landscaping plan. A couple things I want to point out here. One, we really wanted to see street trees along the periphery, particularly on site number 1. We think that helps to break up the starkness of the buildings, if you will, particularly buildings that have a fair amount of height, like these buildings will. The street trees provide shading over time that you often don't get from palm trees, so it makes it more inviting for people that will be using those streetscape areas. And I do want to point out here, too, that the quality of these materials will be a little bit higher, for example, than what the underlying mixed-use Bimini zoning district would allow. These trees will be installed at a height of 12 feet with a 3-inch caliper, where the underlying mixed-use Bimini district, the district we're rezoning from, requires trees of a height of 10 feet and 2 inches. So we think that that will help these trees get a better jump, if you will, upon planting, and help them reach maturity a little bit faster than they otherwise would.
And I'm no expert on trees, heaven knows, but my empirical knowledge is that black olives do very well in an urban situation, so I'm pleased to see the black olives as well.
Yes, it's been our experience too. You'll also notice that there is landscaping along the east and the west property lines of site number 2, the restaurant site. We had actually requested additional landscaping, particularly along the west property line of site number 2, which borders an existing multifamily development. And we had also requested that the applicant provide an opaque fence along that property line, just to provide for a little bit more screening with much of the landscaping located on the exterior of that fence.
Do you think that would assist with noise reduction?
It certainly won't hurt, but I'm not sure how much it will help.
Okay, thank you.
So much of that depends on the type of noise and the actual area in which that noise is coming from. So to the extent that that noise is coming from well behind the restaurant and perhaps more to the east rather than to the west, probably won't help a whole lot.
Okay, thank you.
Site number 3, the surface parking area, we had also requested some changes based on the original master concept plan, and that included installing a 6-foot tall opaque fence around the periphery of the parking lot there. We weren't concerned about noise so much from that standpoint, but to the extent that this parking lot is going to be used for overflow parking, and particularly in the evening, we wanted something that would shield light from headlights as people were moving in and out of that site, given the surrounding land uses. And then likewise, we also requested that trees and shrubs be provided around the periphery of that fence as well to help provide an aesthetic benefit. So there's 5 uses that the applicant has requested: commercial parking lot or garage, and that's a single use, and that is a use that is found actually in our schedule of uses in Article 4, the Land Development Code. Multifamily, office, retail, and restaurant, and those are the only uses that would be allowed in this project unless the applicant came back later and chose to amend their PUD, which would require a new set of public hearings to add any additional uses. Next couple slides show standards associated with this PUD. You see the minimum building setbacks for Site 1. They are rather similar to the setbacks that are minimum setbacks that are required for the mixed-use Bimini zoning district. You'll notice the building setbacks for site number 2 on this slide. For the north and south property lines, again, fairly similar to what's required in the mixed-use Bimini district, considerably larger setbacks along the east and west property lines of the restaurant site. And then other standards associated with this PUD density would be capped at a max of 40 dwelling units per acre and a maximum FAR of 0.25. And I do want to point out for people that aren't familiar with floor area ratio, that's a measure of commercial intensity. It would only account for, or only accounts for, commercial or non-residential square footage, and we do not apply FAR, for example, to areas in the parking garage. Maximum height of the project, 82 feet 4 inches, open space, 35%, and then the amount of on-street parking, and Linda Miller spent a good bit of time discussing this. 566 spaces between the parking garage, with the bulk being in the parking garage, another 66 spaces that are proposed for collectively for 3 surface parking lots. And this does not include any parking that's proposed in the right-of-way. That's something that we certainly want to encourage and would like to see. There is a little bit more uncertainty as to the actual number of spaces that might be approved for those streets. That will be determined during the site development plan review process, but we think it will be somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 or 30 plus. And I might mention too that those spaces, since any of those spaces that are approved for the public right-of-way, those would be available for the public's use. They could not be reserved, for example, for the restaurant or for the professional office use, but we would allow the developer to apply those spaces to his project in terms of the amount of parking that he's providing.
Could any of them be reserved for public safety concerns as the police department representative alluded to?
They conceivably could. They may need to be in a special location, particular location, and they may need to be striped differently too. So that's something that we'll have to discuss, not just with the developers team, but also with our public safety personnel too, to see what they would recommend.
And would they be eligible for handicap parking allocation or no?
They could be. They certainly could be. There is sufficient handicap spaces that are on site as opposed to being in the public right-of-way now, but that certainly would be an option as well.
But if we're looking towards the general public being able to use it, that wouldn't, the handicap parking in the parking garage wouldn't apply, right? It's just curiosity. I realize these are details that'll be developed as the project continues.
Yeah, so we would want, and in fact, we would ensure that there are handicap spaces available in the parking garage as close as possible to the entrance of the office building. And likewise, we actually, I think, requested that the applicant made a couple of small changes to the design of their parking lot in the restaurant site because we wanted several handicap spaces closest to the main door of the restaurant, which is consistent with ADA requirements. I'm not sure if that answered your question or not, Madam Hearing Examiner.
I have enough information at this time.
Okay. And these are elevations. These, I believe, are all north elevations. You've seen these before, and the applicant's design professional went into much greater detail with these than I did. This does have a very clean, I think, contemporary look to them, which is something that we're seeing more in the city, and you're seeing more, I think, too, in Southwest Florida, certainly, in terms of architecture. These are renderings that I believe you've seen already. Restaurant elevations. You notice that there is a lot of glazing on the rear of this particular restaurant to take advantage of views of the Bimini Basin. Elevations again of the restaurant, and the one on the right is looking northward with the mixed-use building in the background. So in terms of access and transportation, much of this has already been covered, but the parking garage will include the bulk of the parking. Staff is recommending, as you're already aware, that cars entering the garage be limited to Tudor Drive. Drivers that would be exiting the garage could use either entrance, either that off of Cape Coral Parkway or off of Tudor. Each site will have some limited surface parking. And the developer is also proposing off-street improvements that go well beyond just providing on-street parking to several local streets, and that includes some pretty significant improvements, particularly along Palm Tree Drive to the west, where they would be providing curb gutter and sidewalks along the west side of the street, which goes well beyond most developers' obligations when it comes to making off-site improvements. And there are likewise other right-of-way improvements too that are going to be pretty substantial, not just in terms of providing pavers or streetscape improvements, but also providing very highly identifiable crosswalks between the different sites, which is very important here, not just from a public safety standpoint, but also for helping to promote a more cohesive development. In terms of landscaping and screening, just to basically summarize this, canopy trees will be provided along the street frontage of the three sites. I already mentioned the quality of the trees that will be provided along the streetscape of site number 1. And again, opaque fences will be along the west property line of the restaurant site and around the entire site of site number 3 to help promote a more compatible development with those existing residential uses. Now, looking at the rezoning request, the applicant is seeking a rezone from the mixed-use Bimini district to a mixed-use PUD. This is a land use map showing that the 3 sites and all immediately surrounding properties have a downtown mixed future land use classification. Zoning of the sites currently is the mixed-use Bimini district. And then the request is to rezone all 3 sites to a mixed-use planned unit development. And there are several standards that we use for evaluating rezoning requests, which includes rezonings and PUDs. And we've summarized our analysis here. We provide a little more detailed analysis in our staff report, but the first standard is whether the proposed zoning district is consistent with the city comprehensive plan. And staff finds that this request is consistent with multiple policies and several elements of our comprehensive plan, and I'll go over those in more of a summary fashion a little bit later. Second standard, whether the range of uses in the proposed district will be compatible with existing uses in the area under consideration. So the mixed-use zoning district, mixed-use PUD zoning district will be limited to 5 uses, so there's more certainty here about what uses will be developed compared to a conventional rezone. All of the uses that are being proposed are allowed in the mixed-use Bimini zoning district, and all of the uses except for 1, that being the parking garage and even the surface parking lot, all of those are located in fairly close proximity to this particular project. 2 of the sites are separated from adjacent sites by streets, and that includes the largest of the 3 sites with frontage on Cape Coral Parkway. So that also helps to provide for some separation to the extent that that's important in this case. In sort of summary here, the nature of the uses, the building setbacks, the landscaping, the street rights-of-way that will help to separate certainly the large site and even site number 3 where that will be devoted to parking, that will help provide separation between those uses and surrounding uses, particularly residential uses on 3 of the sides. All of that will sort of work in tandem to help to provide for a project that we believe will be compatible with the surrounding area. Next standard is whether the range of uses allowed in the proposed zoning district will be compatible with existing and potential uses in the area under consideration. Here the emphasis is on potential uses. There are scattered vacant properties that exist close to the project, mainly to the west, and most of these sites are rather small. And in the absence of any property assembly, we would expect these to be developed either with small multifamily development, maybe 3, 4, 5 units, or with more than likely a professional office use, because a lot of these sites are located on local streets and don't have a high degree of visibility associated with them, which many or some commercial uses, particularly retail and restaurant uses, pretty much demand. Future uses in the area are likely to be similar to those uses that will be approved or may be approved as part of this mixed-use PUD, although certainly the scale of development could be considerably different. And based on the future uses that we're likely to see in the area and the commonality of those uses with those uses proposed for the mixed-use PUD, we find that uses that are proposed for this PUD will be compatible with future uses in the area. Number 4, whether the proposed zoning district will serve a community need or broader public purpose. We think that this PUD has the potential to do that. One, it will provide multifamily housing that is still in rather short supply in the city, even though we have certainly seen an increase in the amount of new multifamily housing, particularly along Pine Island Road. This PUD provides a waterfront restaurant on the Bimini Basin, which is mentioned as something that is advocated both in our comprehensive plan and in the CRA redevelopment plan that you'll see in a minute. Project will provide a parking garage for spaces for public use. And the project has sort of an urban flavor, urban design, and it will encourage, we think, pedestrian activity. So that has a couple of benefits. One, it helps encourage people to park their cars and to make multiple trips once they park their car. And then we think that it also has the potential to give the area sort of more of a vibrant feel, if you will, especially with the restaurant being on the water. And perhaps even this could serve as sort of a catalyst for similar development, if not in the area, in the city.
And I find it very interesting that the representative from the police department pointed out that it could in fact affect transportation issues elsewhere in the city in a positive manner by providing these services in an area that he said was currently underserved.
Yeah, and I thought that was a really good point, and it may even have provided more of a benefit there than he suggested, because particularly if some of those services are only provided, for example, across the rivers in Fort Mile, the number of reduced miles traveled could be quite significant over time, depending on the areas of specialization and what's offered in Fort Myers versus elsewhere in the Cape currently. Fifth standard deals with, are the characteristics of the rezone area suitable for the uses permitted in the proposed district, and we find this is the case. The largest of the three sites here has frontage on Cape Coral Parkway, a major street. Cape Coral Parkway is designed to handle large volumes of traffic. It also provides a good bit of visibility too, which is important for projects like this, when projects are located along a major street. The project is at a signalized intersection, which will help with traffic moving into and out of the project. And the project is in the CRA where conditions are suitable for mixed-use development, both in terms of utility infrastructure, which improvements are on the way, but also in terms of sidewalks and other types of utility, or I should say infrastructure that is already present as well. Sixth standard, whether a zoning district other than the district requested will create fewer potential adverse impacts to uses in the surrounding area. In this case, we don't believe there is another zoning district that would create fewer potential adverse impacts. If you compare the commercial intensity and the residential density that this project will have compared to that allowed by right in the mixed-use Bimini district, it's considerably lower. The mixed-use Bimini district allows a maximum FAR of 4. The applicant in this case is proposing 0.25. Mixed-use Bimini district also allows a density of up to 125 dwelling units per acre, and the applicant is proposing closer to 40. So based on that, those impacts would be considerably less. The fact that this is a mixed-use project, or even though the mixed-use Bimini district allows a mix of uses and mixed-use buildings, it does not require mixed-use development. Generally, mixed-use projects generate fewer trips and require less parking than several single-use projects with similar number of units and similar amount of commercial space. And there could even actually be, albeit some small, but also some air quality benefits too, in that if the number of vehicle miles traveled is fewer associated with the mixed-use project, it might generate less emissions over time too. The parking garage will provide for public parking, and you heard one of the developers discuss that in greater detail. Parking spaces in the city right-of-way are proposed, so that would be a benefit to the public at large in this area, and this is one of the areas of the city where we do need more parking. And the project will include streetscape and off-street improvements, which will also have a public benefit. The project is consistent with several policies that are contained in multiple elements of the comprehensive plan. I've summarized them here, and I'll try to summarize these as I go through them. It's consistent with two policies that appear in our capital improvements plan. One is the city will ensure public facilities are in place to serve development prior to permit issuance. Policy 5.8, and this policy is repeated to a large extent in several other elements. It deals with the transportation concurrency exception area in the CRA, and this is for areas where you have a concurrency issue, and in particular transportation concurrency issue. And it says that new development in the CRA transportation concurrency exception area may elect to be exempt from concurrency requirements through implementing mitigation strategies. Part of Cape Coral Parkway has concurrency issues, and this area that includes the Bimini area is part of that portion of Cape Coral Parkway is part of a transportation concurrency exception area. However, the area with frontage, this project where it has frontage along Cape Coral Parkway does not have a concurrency issue. The traffic flows pretty smoothly here. It's not really until you move further east and you get closer to the bridge and perhaps a little bit west of Coronado, I'm not sure where the exact point is, where that section of Cape Coral Parkway is failing. So in this case, the developer really is not required to provide any mitigation strategies, and they can elect just to meet whatever requirements are in place for making any more traditional enhancements in the right-of-way. And in this case, that will largely be, frankly, by paying road impact fees. That should be sufficient to providing for overtime upgrades to the local street network. It's projects consistent with a couple of policies in the conservation and coastal management element. One states the city will lessen impacts of vehicle emissions by promoting mixed-use development. Policy 4.1.3 says development review within the coastal high-hazard area shall consider significant impacts on evacuation routes and sheltering. We did consult with a couple of individuals with the fire department that had told us upon their review of the project, they did not believe that this project would have any adverse impacts on slowing evacuation times from the city. Projects consistent with the goal of the housing element to provide good housing, good quality housing in safe neighborhoods, offering a broad choice of options in both type and tenure. And we interpret that certainly to mean beyond just single-family homes, which are sort of the norm in the city. It's consistent with multiple policies in the future land use element. It's consistent with policy 1.7 that provides 4 locational guidelines for multifamily development. Policy 1.3, which discourages strip commercial development. Policy 1.15, which identifies planned unit developments as consistent with all future land use classifications except for the natural resources and preservation in the open space future land use classifications. It's consistent with policy 1.15K, which provides guidance for the downtown mixed future land use classification, which allows a maximum of 125 dwelling units per acre and an FAR of 4. As I mentioned earlier, this project will have a density of around 40 dwelling units per acre and an FAR of around 0.25. Policy 5.4 advocates city services beyond those with adopted level of service standards that should be considered to serve new commercial development. So we had reached out and as we have for most of our public hearing cases, asked staff with fire and the police departments to review this project. You heard testimony from them today, and we also included their review comments in our staff report. Policy 8.3 states that commercial development should be designed to minimize negative impacts on surrounding residential uses. We think that has been accomplished in several different ways, which includes landscaping, the use of opaque fences strategically on a couple of sites, the location of dumpsters, which I haven't discussed, but away from existing residential uses and so on. Policy 8.4 advocates transitions from commercial to low-density residential uses. So if you want to think of this sort of from a north to south standpoint, you've got commercial uses along Cape Coral Parkway. You're transitioning with this project to a mixed-use development that includes professional office and multifamily development that is lower intensity, and then as you move south of this project, you start running into lower density existing residential development, particularly along the Bimini Basin. Policy 8.5, and very similar to 8.4, encourages multifamily and should be compound use buildings as transitional uses. Policy 14.5 is another policy that deals with the downtown transportation concurrency exception area, similar to the policies I've already discussed. It's consistent with several policies in our transportation element. 1.17 and 2.3.1 again make reference to and provide guidance on the downtown transportation concurrency exception area, and in particular mitigation measures that may be employed by a developer. Policy 2.1.5 states the city shall require new development to incorporate design elements to accommodate and protect bicyclists and pedestrians. So that will be accomplished both by some of the streetscape improvements, by the crosswalks that you see between the sites, and also by providing bike racks on at least one site. Policy 2.3 encourages alternative transportation modes through the PUD process, which would include bicyclists, pedestrians, and in this case, perhaps boaters too, that may choose to take their boat to moor their boat at the along the Bimini Basin, and then elect to dine at the restaurant. And then policy 4.2.4, which states new development shall be reviewed to assure that capacity and operation of emergency evacuation routes will be maintained or improved. Again, we did reach out to fire department staff to discuss that issue with them. It's also consistent with policy 2.1, the city should not issue any non-exempt residential development permit until available school capacity has been verified. School capacity is not available in this zone, but it is available in the adjacent school concurrency zone area. So there is not a problem with this development in terms of serving any school-aged children that you might find living in this development according to Lee County Schools. It's also consistent with several policies in the CRA redevelopment plan. Linda's already gone over these, unless you want to hear from me.
No, I think they've been covered quite well by the applicant's representative, thank you.
But these were policies actually that we also had identified in our presentation to the CRA board and had discussed with them as well.
And as I said before, I did review that, and I thought the presentation was very well done. Thank you.
Thank you. Looking at PUD standards and criteria, we've gone over these in a little more streamlined fashion. Linda Miller went over them and did a good job and went over them in great detail. We believe this project is consistent with several plans. And not just our comprehensive plan, but also with the South Cape Downtown Community Redevelopment Plan that was last amended in 2019. It's consistent with our Economic Development Master Plan, which identified a more general area within the Bimini Basin as an area in which the city might want to promote mixed use and in particular waterfront development. And it's also consistent with the Bimini Basin Nodal Development Design Studio project that was done by some graduate students under a professor with the University of South Florida several years ago. In terms of uses and densities that would be allowed in this project, they are shown on the master concept plan. The commercial intensity standard that is also shown on the master concept plan. The developer will be providing a minimum of 35% open space, which exceeds the minimum in our land development code of 25%. perimeter buffers are shown on the landscape plan. There will be no new streets associated with this project. However, there will be some pretty substantial improvements made in the city right-of-way, both in terms of streetscape improvements, also curb gutter sidewalks, and accommodations made for public parking. And you heard from Ms. Miller that there's not intention to phase this project. We are recommending approval of this project subject to conditions that appear in our staff report, and I'll go over those in a second with you. We did present this project to the CRA board. You're right, that was really more of a public meeting and not a public hearing per se, as there was not really expert testimony required or provided there. But the CRA board, after hearing the presentation of this project and the consistency with the CRA redevelopment plan, recommended approval of this project at their November 2nd board meeting. We've received one email on this case from an individual that neither indicated support or opposition to this project. And if you'd like, I'll read these conditions of approval. Or
I think we have quite a number of them, correct?
Yes.
Why don't we just, I don't know that we need to go through all of them, but I would like to go to condition number 12.
Yes, we can do that.
Unless you feel you need to do presentation on each of them, and that's certainly your discretion.
I don't believe so, but we can always go back and address questions if they come up, either from yourself or the public.
Okay, that's fine, thank you.
So number 12 states, all vehicles entering the parking garage shall use the entrance on the south side of the garage along Tudor Drive, which would restrict vehicles from entering the garage from Cape Coral Parkway. Vehicles shall be prohibited from entering the parking garage from Cape Coral Parkway. Vehicles exiting the parking garage may use either the Cape Coral Parkway or Tudor Drive exits.
You've heard testimony this morning that from several of the applicants' team that says the parking garage will not have any barriers or tickets or any entry, anything that would affect the ability for a smooth transition into the parking garage. Do you think it'd be appropriate to have a condition that says that, or is that something that would be inappropriate?
I think it may be appropriate to have a condition that would guarantee that, if you will, but I would like to invite our transportation manager to speak to this too, because I think it'd be more appropriate to hear from him on this item.
That's fine, yeah. Thank you. Can we hear from the transportation expert, please, or transportation staff member? Sorry. Could you identify yourself for the record, please, sir?
Yes, Mahmoud Kauder. I'm the city traffic engineer working with the Public Works Department.
All right. Would you like to present testimony on this matter?
Yes, I'm expert on testimony based on my credential and experience.
All right. I don't know that I have your CV, so could you go into some detail,
Sure.
please, about your
I'm a
experience?
graduate of a bachelor degree in civil engineering from Florida International University, as well as a master degree in transportation, focusing on traffic engineering from City College of New York. I'm licensed professional engineer in state of Florida. I'm licensed traffic engineer in state of California. I'm already certified as a PTOE, which is a professional traffic operation engineer.
I will find you as an expert based upon your recitation of your qualifications. Thank you.
I think the traffic report that was issued for this project was reviewed by our department. I looked at and I reviewed myself. The initial study recommended that we recommended that turn lane was analyzed for the garage from the Cape Coral Parkway, and found that based on the county standard is warranted. The report or the study asked for waiver for that right turn lane into the garage. We recommended after that is the entrance to the garage be limited to the exit only on Cape Coral Parkway. due to the speed of the existing speed on Cape Coral Parkway and the interaction between the vehicle entering and the sidewalk as pedestrian use that, as well as the bicycles passing by. So our recommendation is to just limit it to the exit only from the garage and use the back on the back street as in and out into the garage. The traffic study report concluded, and the conclusion of it in the last sentence, the addition of right turn lane will cause additional conflict with pedestrian and allow traffic to enter the project at higher speed. So I feel not only because of right turn lane, also the through lane makes it even worse than that as far as the conditions. So recommendation was just to, based on the condition of number 12, to limit that to the exit only.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any other testimony to provide?
Thank you.
That would be,
Any
I'm
question?
assuming that's no? Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. Mr. Strebe, do we have other city staff that is here to provide testimony today?
Not unless you have any questions for any city staff.
I do have a question regarding the infrastructure issues that were raised at the CRA
Yes.
meeting. Is there, does the city have the capacity at this time? I know it's a CRA district, so obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, but one assumes that the CRA funds would be available for this purpose. But does the city have a plan to move forward with these infrastructure improvements at this time so that the applicant would be able to move forward with their part of that?
So the short answer to that is yes, the city does have a plan to make those necessary improvements. Yeah, Byron Taylor is here with utilities. He's an engineer with the utilities department. I'd like him to provide a little greater context on exactly what those plans are and the timing of those plans.
All right, thank you. All right. Good morning, and once again, thank you for your patience in sitting through the other portions of our day. I appreciate that.
Yeah, yes, ma'am, no problem. As far as the infrastructure goes.
I need your name, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, my name is Byron Taylor. I'm a principal engineer, PE, in the Utilities Administration Department.
Okay.
Infrastructure-wise, we are currently in construction of the new Master Pump Station 100 to alleviate the sanitary sewer issue capacity. It has started construction November 7th. So by the time this project is online, that will be available.
It'd be available to the Bimini Basin Project?
Yes, it'll in the CRA area, yes. The Bimini Basin goes north to a different pump station that eventually goes to 100, so the capacity will be there. They might have to do an improvements to that one particular station, but it's not an issue.
Are you going to have lift station issues or no?
Once we get the model set up, they might have to increase the pump size, but we've been in contact with Avalon.
Okay, I have no other questions. Thank you. All right. Mr. Strebe, do you have other members of your team that would like to present testimony this morning?
Not at this time, Madam Hearing Examiner.
All right, thank you. And I wasn't sure, did you conclude your presentation? I know we focused on number 11. I wasn't sure if you had other testimony. I'm sorry, 12, thank you. Other testimony to present regarding the remainder of the conditions or not?
I do not at this time unless there's questions that come up later during the hearing.
Thank you. I have no questions at this time. All right, thank you. All right. This is a public hearing. Are there members of the public who have very patiently waited, and thank you for doing that, to provide their input to the hearing examiner? I have two cards here. Once I've called them both, if there are other people in the audience who wish to provide input, please indicate such. Diane Morrissey, come on up, Ms. Morrissey. We have the podium here for your convenience. Thank you.
What do I do? Is it working? Okay, my name is Diane Morrissey. I'm actually a property owner who, I own a little duplex over by, on Lucaya. I mean, it literally is like right there where this project is going in. It suffered significant damage from Ian. I actually I live in California, so I'm down here to deal with all of that. But I know this project has been on the books for a while, and my question is really on how it's going to affect me and that property. Whether I noticed there's this policy 7.3 that says the city to provide incentives to individual property owners for future private use. What does that mean? How do I find out? Does that mean that they're going to be buying the adjacent properties? Because I know this project, according to the map, could encompass a much larger area. Not the Bimini Square, but future projects. Do I spend the money to improve it? Do I tear it down and build a new one? So I've got all of these questions that I'm trying to deal with. And frankly, I'm overwhelmed. I don't know what I need to do to proceed from here. I'm literally across the street from the little outdoor parking lot that they're building, and there's 2 empty lots right next to me that it would be prime for somebody to do something larger. Or do I fix it? I just don't know what to do. So I was hoping to get here to try to learn a little bit more about that.
Well, first of all, I'm sorry that you suffered the property loss from Hurricane Ian.
Thank you.
It's been very devastating, and I know property owners who've suffered damage have had a lot of emotional and financial trauma. So first, I do want to express my sorrow for your suffering.
Thank you for that.
And secondly, I do want to thank you for sitting through a very long hearing.
It was interesting.
3 hours. And I noticed you were taking snapshots of some of the slides. Those, just so you know, those slides are also available online.
Oh, good. I wasn't sure. This is my first time attending anything like this, so I have no idea. I would love to get a copy too, and of the plan itself. I think it sounds like a fantastic plan. There's a master concept plan. Is that available online too, or?
I believe it is, and if it's not, we will certainly have staff address that or have the applicant address that. But the City of Cape Coral, the hearing examiner hearings, if you look at that section of the city website, the agenda is under, I think it's under agendas and calendars, something like that. And you can access all the materials that were available today.
Good. That'll be good, because my husband is still home, so I know he's interested too. And I know that area is so ripe for gentrification, and with the hurricane, is the city going to step in and offer incentives? Because frankly, I'm not certain some of these property owners have insurance. They haven't done anything to, remediate the properties, and there's still people living in them, and it's not healthy. It concerns me. Is the city going to do anything?
I don't know that, but we can certainly ask staff. And part of your question affects this, or is concerning this project, and part of your question is outside of this.
Yeah.
So to the extent that some of your concerns that you've expressed are outside, I'm sure that staff would be able to talk to you in a limited fashion. They can't give you advice about what you personally should do, but they can certainly give you a little bit of information or guide you to some resources that the city has regarding properties that have been troubled.
Okay. So I guess I just need to figure out which city people I need to talk to get some of these answers.
I understand. Well, you have asked some questions about the project.
Yes.
So after we close public comment, I will ask the applicant and staff to comment on that.
Okay.
And then maybe staff could give you some guidance about where to look for these other resources.
Yeah, yeah. And are they going to put trees on both sides of Palm Tree Boulevard or just one side? I wasn't clear on that.
Well, we'll get that question answered
Okay,
as well.
we'll put it on the list. I guess that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you for coming in, and once again, thank you for sitting through 3 hours of a hearing. Thank you very much. The second one I have is from Crystal. I'm probably going to mangle your name, Pescatore. Pescator. Okay, she must have been the lady that left a little while ago. Is there anyone else here who would like to testify? Yes, sir. And have you been sworn in, sir? Have you been sworn in? All right, well, now go over to the podium and our clerk will swear you in. Thank you.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Could you state your name, please, sir? Sorry.
My name is Steve Morrison. I'm a resident of the Sunset Towers. And I just have two questions. I'm
Yes,
not
sir.
sure who they should be addressed to.
Well, if you recite them now, we'll figure out who to send it to.
Okay. The first is, there was a lot of talk about flood-proofing the new construction. Has the impact of the new construction on flooding in the surrounding area been taken into consideration? In other words, we have a lot of grass there and dirt that absorbs the rain. That's all going to get channeled from rooftops into narrower areas. Where's, is that going to impact those of us who live around the area?
I will ask them to answer your question. If they can't answer it in this context, perhaps they can talk to you after the hearing, sir.
Okay.
Did you have another question?
Yeah, the other one was very specific. We're going to look down on where I believe the dumpsters are going to be, and Larry has indicated they're going to put a structure around the dumpsters, but I'm wondering if you could make it a shed so we don't have to look down on it as opposed to looking at it from the sides, that's all.
So what you're asking is to have a covered
Yes.
dumpster so there won't be the top of the dumpster.
Exactly.
Will be your view.
Yes.
All right, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you very much, and also thank you for sitting here for this entire time. I really appreciate your patience.
No problem.
Sir. All right, is there anyone else here who is interested in providing testimony at the public testimony portion? Okay, seeing none, I will go ahead and close the public testimony section of the public hearing. Bring it back to the applicant. I guess we have a choice here. If you would like to discuss the answers to the questions that Ms. Morrissey and Mr. Morrison have brought up today, or if you would rather discuss those with them in private, it's up to you.
I can go ahead and answer some questions. So
I can't hear you very well.
I'm sorry. The improvements on Palm Tree Drive include lane widening, curb gutter, and sidewalk areas, not landscaping on that side. We will have landscaping tree-lined landscaping on the sidewalk areas on the other side, on the eastern side, which is our property side. But the improvements to the roadway is a lot of extra lane widening, curb gutter, and sidewalk. So that will be a continuation from the corner of Cape Coral Parkway all the way down to Tudor Drive. And to answer your question about intent to expand, so you're right about policy 7.3, incentive to assemble extra pieces of property. But a PUD in the city of Cape Coral establishes a perimeter guideline for a development of a very specific area. So our area is the 5.61 acres. If we were going to purchase property or expand across the street on Palm Tree, we'd be coming back through that process to amend our development to include a second phase or something like that of the development. So we do not have any intent to do that right now. Okay? Yes, only in the 5.61 acres, okay?
No incentives offered for, at least for this.
Right, no.
I think that would be a question for city staff in terms
Yes,
of incentives.
okay.
But Mr. Morrissey had two questions about flood proofing and dumpsters. I see he's been unable to continue being here today, but.
We'll reach out to him. I have his email address.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. All right, Ms. Miller, anything else that you wanted to provide today in response to staff or anyone else?
No, ma'am, I think everything has been addressed.
Okay, thank you very much. All right. Mr. Strube, can I have you up, please? Did you have any responses of any kind to the comments of public comment, or would you prefer contacting them privately and addressing these matters?
Well, I was just, something that Ms. Morrissey was asking about. First of all, sorry to hear about your property. There may be some limitation as to the repairs that can be made on your duplex, depending on whether it was built below base flood elevation and so on. We do have a floodplain coordinator who is much more versed on the magnitude of the repairs that could be made, really on a property-by-property basis, based on to what elevation they were built to and when the home was built. And I will be glad to get you that contact information after this meeting, so you could have potentially a follow-up discussion with that person.
All right, anything else, Mr. Struve?
Nothing else
right.
for me.
All right, thank you. I am, at this time, going to close the hearing. It may take me a little bit of time to get my recommendation out in view of the fact that next week is Thanksgiving and there are quite a number of issues involved with this particular application. So at this time, I'm closing that hearing. I have two brief announcements. I would ask everyone to please keep in your seats because these are very brief announcements. The first announcement is that as hearing examiner, I have signed off and staff has signed off on the hearing examiner calendar for 2023. And Madam Recording Secretary, can you advise, is the schedule available or will it be available?
It will be available on the city website.
On the city website, thank you very much. My last announcement is our next hearing is Tuesday, December 6th, 2022 at 9 a.m. here in Council Chambers. We stand adjourned at 12:08. Once again, I want to express gratitude to everyone who was very patient through the course of this hearing. I know that there were some of the issues are very complicated, but it's very important that the public and everyone else has an ability to fully flesh out their thoughts here today. So thank you, everyone, for your patience. We stand adjourned at 12:08. Thank you.